Mm. Mm. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, the appointment. Yeah. No, it probably will, because we're doing the grants and all, and we'll have more information by then. Because we got to spend $19.8 million. So we have to spend 19.8 plus 13 million. So we have to have it all approved so it can be moved forward, and that's going to take a while to get through.
Look ahead to months where I know it's going to be the second Tuesday.
Yeah, usually don't worry about the second meeting as much. It's these meetings. If you can do a vacation on, and if you have to miss it, you have to miss it. You know, it's not a big deal. You could even watch it on online with me and you and tell me what you're saying, and I can tell them. Mm-hmm.
I have my numbers right. We have this meeting, I'm pretty sure it's on the 25th. Okay. And then I think I get on the airplane on the 26th. So far, it's just timing out just right.
Let's see, I'm looking the 25th, yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so everybody, before I forget, everybody, we're going to be having our dinners in here for a while, so we're going to have to move it up to 5:30. The dinner's not 6, so we can get prepared and get everything arranged. So that gives us like an hour and 15 minutes to eat dinner, and then everybody can go sit there and we can watch Paul rearrange the room. All righty, well, let's pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Young man, would you help us with a prayer? Amen. Thank you. And if you would do roll call, please.
Okay. Councilmember Hartle,
Present.
Councilmember Morganelli,
Here.
Councilmember Womack, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Womack,
Present.
and Mayor Wincoop.
Here. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get going on it. Let's do the first presentation of administration matters, approval of visiting committee and public safety committee. If you look a couple pages, you'll see the list that Paul's offered us to approve.
And Mayor, I did provided you with an updated list
Yep.
going around, so that would be the list I would recommend
Yeah,
approval.
I got it. Alrighty.
I'd actually like to table
Go ahead.
the Vision Committee vote. There's a few residents in Willow Ridge that actually would like to sign up for that. And they didn't have a chance to do it because they didn't see it
Yeah,
on the
our
website.
problem is though, we have to have it done in January, but it's already March. Will that be a problem, Anita? Okay.
We-
It's up to the council if
Is
you
it
want
okay
to
with everybody
delay
to
it.
table it for another month?
Well,
Good for
we,
me.
could
Okay,
we
we'll
do it at the
table it.
next, could we
Make
do
a
it the next,
motion.
we could do it at the next meeting if you wanted.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
We have a
Yeah,
special
yeah,
council
good idea.
meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, council, in the past, you've added members to it sporadically through the year. It's not like overly formal, I guess.
Oh, that's
So
true.
You
It's up
can
to you
just
guys
add
then.
as
Yeah.
people come in.
Yeah, we can wait another couple weeks.
All right, thank
So you
you.
made a motion to table? it?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Against, say nay. Okay, we're gonna table that for right now. Move on to our next, we want to open it up to the public for anything they'd like to talk to the council about that's not on the agenda. Oh,
Oh, I've got a little. Right on top, there's a button for straight up.
There we go. Matthew Bauman, 1122 Imperial Eagle Street, Groveland, Florida. I have two issues. First, I was curious if it's possible for council to do something about putting public waste receptacles downtown. I find a lot of trash thrown onto my property downtown, and I made the mistake of, when I was cleaning up, leaving my garbage can outside, and I came back a week later, and it was overflowing with trash all over my property. So I have pictures if you're interested, but I don't think it's necessary. There are receptacles all throughout the park, which is really nice. I think we could use a few downtown because there's some restaurants and people just leave stuff throughout downtown. Secondly, when I was cleaning up, I discovered that somebody has broken out 2 more of my windows at my building downtown. Again, this is the 3rd time. It seems to kind of coincide every time I try to fix up or clean up the property because I just had a lot of the overgrowth cut down and I'm trying to get the fence and everything repaired. So it's kind of demoralizing every time I put money into fixing things up. Somebody comes along and I replaced one of the panes with plexiglass. They hit it pretty hard to crack and break the plexiglass out of it, and then they broke another pane too. So I think it may be the same individual. I don't know who it is, but they tried to break the same window, and then when they couldn't, I think they broke the other window. So just want to make council aware of that. I filed a report with the sheriff's office. It took 12 days to get a response from them online, so I haven't talked to an officer yet, but that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Allen Lake, 17569, County Road 455. Just a question, when the library is completed, what days will it be open? How many days in the week?
Go ahead, Paul.
As of right now, it'll be the normal staff time when City Hall's open. It'll be Monday through Thursday. As we put more staff on, we probably will look at extending that part for a partial day on Friday, depending on what the staff load is.
Okay, I just think with such a big building, it should be open as much as possible.
All righty, thank you very much. Anybody else like to talk to the council?
Farmer Banks Helfrich, Clay Road District, South Lake County. Farm tip of the day, now is the time to put cucumbers in the ground. And if you want to put trellises around it, you can get the cucumbers off the ground and caterpillars will not eat them. Mayor, council, distinguished guests, 248 years ago, our forefathers came together in Philadelphia for 4 months, representing 13 colonies and actually 55 delegates. They came together to create the longest surviving government charter. Our preamble to the Constitution and our Constitution came out of that. This was no easy task. There was a lot of bickering, there was a lot of disagreement, a lot of arguing. However, they did finally come together and create a government for, of, and with the citizens in mind, creating freedoms, since most of them came from authoritarian countries, and balancing that with government control. They also created 3 branches of government which balance and check each other, which was one of the most, the newest forms of government. This has created one of the best countries this world has ever seen, the best governments this world has ever seen. And they did it using a word that when we hear today, it is looked down upon. It is looked as a sign of weakness or vulnerability or insecurity. Compromise. And they had to come together in order to be the glue. Compromise was the glue for our country to be the country that it is today. Wouldn't it be great if we all started to compromise a little more, reach across ideological divides, find common ground, come together? With that said, my name is Farmer Banks Helfrich. May you all be blessed. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much, Farmer Banks. We appreciate you. It's a good point. All righty. Anybody else like to talk to council?
Hi, I'm Pam Cox. I live on 17705 Broad Street. I am right up from the boat ramp. And a few months ago, there was some fishermen having some competition, and they were able to park 23 boats at an angle across from my property. And that's as many as they could get there. And I know the town of Montverde has talked about eventually paving that so that there will be parking. But if there's going to be 138 houses built, I don't understand why the developers aren't going to have their own boat ramp. And if they're not going to have their own boat ramp, I don't understand why they're not allowing an acre or 2 acres of property to the left of our boat ramp where their people can park their trailers, because there's going to be more than 23 people coming from that development. I mean, if I was going to buy property on the west side of the 4th largest lake in Florida, I would want to be going fishing. So that's my question. I don't understand, why the developers haven't talked about having their own boat ramp. And if not, is it possible that we can get them to give us some acreage for the people to park their trailers at so they can go fishing?
All righty. Thank you very much. We're going to have to bring that up when the time comes. Anybody else like to talk to the council? All righty. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to, go ahead and let's start with Paul and give your report.
Sure. Thank you, council. Let's start off, let you know that, for some reason there we go, my PowerPoint froze. When you get a chance, I encourage you to check the website. We've been adding some more content to it and trying to improve some of the pages and flow on it. We still got a little ways to go, but definitely I think some things are easier to find and getting improvements on that. Wanted to let the council know that Truscott Park has been cleared by our contractors as a part of a reimbursement we're going to turn into FEMA. So we do got erosion control measures, some silt fence at the bottom of that to protect the lake area. I'll probably I'm getting a bid on the fence that's going to go around there. Probably about 4 weeks we'll have the fence rebuilt around the park on that. Library construction, the outside, as you can tell, is going very well. They're in the process of putting in the water mains, doing a lot of the small stuff inside that you don't really see, just electrical and air conditioning, things along that line. So things are progressing. Obviously, you can see some improvements on the outside, so hopefully to get sod and probably by the end of the month around the back part of it, along with about 10 additional live oak trees in that area around the park. We've been spending a lot of time prepping for our centennial and our different celebrations, and I want to thank my wife Kathy, Claudia Weinkoop, and Kalina have been working with me to kind of help organize and take off some of the load of doing some of the stuff of finding the swag and different things we want to do and help with some of the events, so I appreciate them. We are going to be reaching out, looking for a few, probably from the Vision Committee, a few volunteers to help with the actual town picnic that we're planning on doing on May 3rd. So we're going to do a community-wide picnic, just a kind of old-fashioned come together and have a concert and have some games and activities. So look forward to that. So keep an eye out for additional information on that. The water tank that's going over by the Butterfly Garden, I met with the contractors out there 2 weeks ago. They're going to schedule it probably for the 1st of April to start the construction on that. And John Arellano has been assisting me as well with that for the building process. So we have plans that have been done. So those I think are submitted to permitting into the town for permitting now. And the actual Butterfly Garden itself, you should see some activity going on any day there. We're going to start on the walkways in the butterfly garden. And we are planning on doing a volunteer day for our centennial, for Arbor Day, so a townwide volunteer day to actually put all the plants in for the butterfly garden. So again, if we encourage all of, I know everybody here cares about their community because you're here, and so I look forward to seeing everybody out there to help with that. Two last things, a couple projects that are coming that I'm working on. 5th Street, the little dirt section between Franklin and Lakeside, in the next couple weeks, we're gonna be paving that little section of road since it's getting more used now, since the road closed where the parking is by the sports court. And also for those that live on 3rd Street by Porter, that little one-way road through there, it's in really bad shape. So when the guys are out here, I'm going to have them go ahead and get that fixed too. It's really about ready to completely fall apart. Last, I'm working on getting pricing for, this is a project we started last year, just took the county some time to get us the plans and approval process. So we're in permitting right now, but also getting some pricing to finish the crosswalks that come out of Mag Terrace and put the ADA ramps that go down along with the pedestrian crossing through there. There's a little bit of partnership. The county a year ago committed to help fund and put the crosswalks actually in. We're going to put the signage in and actually build the ramps. And then we'll also look at a section of that. They went ahead and did plans that brought the sidewalk there from Mag down to, oh gosh, I can't think of the street the water tower's on. Help me there, guys. Lake, thank you. Sorry about that. And so we're going to look and see if we could possibly get that section done as well too. I'll get some price on that, and I'll keep the council advised on that. That's all I have for tonight. And Mayor, also, it's not on the agenda, but Mr. Kilberry, our Public Safety Director from Lake County for the fire, is here and has a report.
Yeah, come on up.
So I'm going to pass it to you.
This is a busy guy here over all the fire and EMS for Lake County.
Yeah. So thank you. My name is David Kilberry. I'm the Public Safety Director for Lake County. We have 6 municipalities, yours being one of those, that contract with their fire rescue services for fire protection. So you may not have realized it, but in December you did not receive the monthly run report, and that was for 2 reasons. One, we had a staff member go to work for Motorola, which is a major public safety communications company, and we were revamping some of the reports. So on this new one, you'll see a GIS plot map of where the incidents fall within the jurisdiction of the city, or the town rather, and then those areas that the either ambulance or fire truck responded in the surrounding areas of the municipality. So at the top of your list, you see December, and then January and February follow that. The report's been automated to where I review it at the first of each month, and then I will forward that on to the town manager, who I'm sure will provide that in the packet. So a lot of different things. I would have put on my glasses, but I actually broke the frame so the lens would hit the floor if I tried to do it. So I'm going to go by memory of what we have on the report here because it's a blur. So on the left column, you can see those are the incidents and the type of incident that the crews ran within the municipality here in Montverde, and then those areas just outside the municipal boundaries of the types of incidents and the numbers that correlate to that as well. And then down at the bottom, you'll see the summary for those as well. There's 2 terms that we use in the organization, that is responding and en route. Responding means the crews are using their lights and siren, and as long as it's safe, they'll disobey certain traffic signs, can yield and go through red lights, things like that. En route is the dispatcher has went through a call tree to determine it doesn't justify the lights and siren of the crews going, so they just drive normal. So if you'll flip to the second report, you'll see, just because of the incidents, you'll see high acuity calls. You'll see what we used to report as the average, which we still provided that, but that's about 50% of what we do. But then you'll see the industry standard to the right, and that's the 90th percentile. And that 90th percentile is what the industry of public safety tracks for responding and getting on site. of the incident. We also use the 90th percentile in our call take. So in the dispatch center, when somebody calls 911, our benchmark is within 60 seconds, the call taker has determined what resource is needed and sends it on to the dispatcher to tone that fire station or fire stations, depending on the incident. And we try to get that call processing out of the center and notify the station within 60 seconds of the initial call. I will share with you, when I first got to Lake County about 2 years ago, I asked for that data, and I was shocked to learn that the call processing was about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So someone who had called 911, while they went through a myriad of questions, it could be up to 2.5 minutes before the first unit responded. So we've done some internal benchmarking and changes in the way we process that, and so we get that call out. This past month, our call processing for medical was 56 seconds, and for structure fire calls that we track separately was at 54 seconds. So we've made a lot more time for the crews to get turned out. We also capture that time for turnout. So when a fire station, the one here behind the post office, if they get a medical call, they have a turnout time benchmark of 60 seconds to be out the door rolling on an emergent call. And for structure fires, it's about 80 to 90 seconds, and that's because they have to don the structural firefighting gear, because we do not want them getting dressed in the apparatus. We want them seat belted in so they arrive safely so they can provide the services needed. So you'll see the 90th percentile on that column at the bottom. And then just for your awareness, I provided our fiscal year 2024 run summary, and those are all of the apparatus that belong to the organization that I represent, in engines, brush trucks, medics, and the call volume, and then a lot of information. Fire fatalities as well as casualties for fires are there, and the United States Fire Administration tracks those. And then we also have to the left the annual summary. We're about 3,600 calls over what we were in fiscal year 23. So I don't need to tell anybody here, we're getting busier, roads are getting more crowded, but we're doing our best to keep pace with that. So the next thing I'd like to report on is the Fire Station 85. I met with the town manager yesterday, briefed him on the report, and we called the facilities gentleman who's in charge of that. And while we were together, he called KTH Architect and shared with them that this week the deficiencies have been corrected on the files, and so we should have a site plan, we should have some construction plans, and a relocation of the water line should be coming in this week into that portal. We did get notification from FWC that the permit for relocating the 17 gopher turtles from the site has been approved, so we're generating a purchase order to pay for that permit, and so we should be relocating Florida's native tortoises off that property here in the very near future. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
How many tortoises?
There's 17 burrows, but that is not for sure that they're all active, but I was shocked at how much it costs to relocate tortoises. I was absolutely flabbergasted. So, yeah, just for awareness, we'll start the bidding at $96,000 to relocate 17 tortoises. So this is my last meeting as fire chief. I'm going to get in the tortoise relocation business, and so yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, a good price, yeah. So,
Great job, thank you.
yeah. And then I did want to share with you, one of the council members came up, and I invited him up to my office, and he had the rare treat to visit the 911 center, where very few public individuals could see that because of the critical infrastructure and the safety. And so I invite any one of the council members, if you'd like to see your 911 center, make an appointment, and either myself or one of my staff will take you through that. It is impressive to see of how fast it is organized chaos when things really get busy in there, but it's a great team. They're an accredited dispatch agency. They're actually a peer organization. So there's people throughout the Southeast United States that come in trying to reach the ACE accrediting, and come into our facility just to learn how we do what we do. So you're in great hands, and I appreciate our relationship so much.
Thank you so much for that tour. That
Absolutely,
was
it was my
amazing.
pleasure,
And
yeah.
As someone who's tech-oriented, I'll say, as I texted you back, that was sort of my heaven. When you walk in and you see all the computer screens and the
Yeah.
light, the darkened rooms, and
Yeah.
the team is phenomenal. I mean, I watched a few calls go through, and that was It was
Yeah.
organized chaos.
They are. We have an individual who's new to the dispatch center. She's actually the daughter of one of the municipal fire chiefs here in the county, and she had done a fantastic job and was given an award. And then yesterday, she delivered her first baby over the phone, giving instructions to the call taker for the delivery. In 1 in 80,000 pregnancies, the sac remains intact, and that was the call that she worked the caller through to break the amniotic sac for the baby to be released. So just a rock star up there. So those are just a few of the things that our dispatchers deal with. I refer to those as our first responders because calls go well or poorly of how they come out of the dispatch center. So we got a great team. Everybody behind me is protected, and I just want to remind everybody, make sure you have a working smoke alarm in your house. You may never have another chance to check that, so check them tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank
One
you.
other question,
Yep,
comment for
absolutely.
you. When you look at the total utilization chart, that's amazing that Lake County Fire does a great job with a number of units, medics, everything, and you look at the response time, and you figure out every station, not city, stations that are county. You guys do a fantastic job with what little resources you have, so I commend the staff for their work from upper management working down to the battalion chiefs and chiefs at each spot and lieutenants and everything. This is impressive. When you look at how many medical units, engines, brush trucks, and then the service calls that they run, you're getting efficiency cranked up.
Councilmember Harrell, I appreciate that, and I am truly blessed beyond what I deserve. I have a great team, and I'm a member of that team, but yeah, there are people, the emails and notes of thanks that I get from everybody is incredible of the job that they do out there, and they're
Well,
truly saving lives.
There is one thing I didn't see here on Lake County Sheriff Department. They have the donut run. I didn't see the donut.
Now, don't get me in
Just-
trouble. I don't want no silver bracelets on my wrist, so. All right, thank you so much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Alrighty, let's go to our town attorney.
Just a couple of bills that might be of interest to the council. We've talked about community redevelopment agencies in the past. There's some proposed legislation that's going through currently, a bill proposing to eliminate the ability to create CRAs after July 1st of this year, and then requiring a certain expiration date. So we're going to monitor that. Accessory dwelling units, the proposed legislation would prohibit towns from prohibiting accessory dwelling units unless for residential properties, unless they're within a planned unit development. That would be an exception to the rule. And it would prohibit local governments from requiring those accessory dwelling units to be taxed separately from the property. We also would not be allowed to require that the owner of the property reside on the same property as the ADU. So we'll continue to watch that. And then lastly, is excess building permit fees. It's proposed that cities and towns that have excess funds would have to use those excess funds for stormwater projects. And if you had excess funds and you were not going to use them for stormwater, you would have to rebate them, and you would not be allowed to get state funding for stormwater projects going forward. So, or while you have those funds available to you. And so we'll keep you updated on those. There's many, many others that are going through, but these are 3 of the top ones that we'll be watching.
Can you state the stormwater one more time?
So excess funds in your building department, those excess funds would have to be used for stormwater projects because they're a restricted fund and you can only use them to enforce the Florida Building Code. They would allow you to use those only for stormwater projects, and if you had excess funds, you would not be eligible to get state funding for stormwater projects
Anita,
until you use those first.
follow-up question on that. I read that from the Florida League of Cities, that update. Did they say anything that you're aware of on the time frame of those funds had to be used, like on impact fees? The legislature hadn't determined that, or is that still open?
Well, there's currently statutes that require you to use those funds within a certain period of time. You can only roll them over. and have them allocated for projects for a period of time. Otherwise, you have to rebate those back to the people who pulled building permits.
That's 3 years, right?
I think it is 3, but I can't,
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I got a check in the mail from property owned in Groveland. Didn't know what it was, and they were rebating me.
Right,
So that was interesting.
yes. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, so Sean Parks reporting as your planner. I think I'll save a long, detailed report because we've got 2 pretty lengthy ordinances coming up tonight. So if you want, I'll just go right to the commission.
Go right ahead.
Okay, reporting as your commissioner. We are in the middle of our budget session, so everybody's encouraged to participate that. Budget planning, I should say. We're having multiple budget sessions. Of course, we want to invite everybody to Tuesdays, 9 o'clock, first, second, and fourth Tuesdays of every month is when we meet. You can participate online as well. You can get updates from me personally, which I do now, video updates, on that same website, the county website, lakecountyfl.gov. I do a video update every month, at least once a month, reporting, at least from my perspective, kind of what we've done over the last few meetings, past meetings. So I want to let everybody know and remind everybody about that as well. Similar issues that have been discussed right in the middle of the legislative session, so what's going to happen to us as a county. I will tack on and say that we do believe that accessory dwelling unit has a pretty good shot of passing again. It would not apply if you're in PUDs, but for a large part of the county it would apply, or if you don't have a PUD as well. So it's going to take control out of it, accessory dwelling units for both the city, the town, and cities in the town and the county as well. Another bill that's been proposed that we're tracking is the removal of all assessments. So fire assessments, everything, sort of goes in line with what you're hearing about getting rid of property taxes. So our question is, of course, how do you pay for it? If not that, then how is it going to be paid for? So we're tracking those as well. Also want to let you know, again, keep track of this. Certainly the council is going to be invited, but public is invited as well. We're having a workshop on June 2nd to start talking about, or at least discussing, the concept of what a charter county is. So everybody's going to be invited to that, or is invited to that. We want the city council to be aware of that. About 2 weeks after that, town manager and I were talking about this the other day. We actually are going to have approximately 2 weeks. We don't know the exact date yet, but we will have a meeting with just the city council. So it'll be all 14, hopefully all 14 city councils, a representative with their managers, along with the county commission, similar to what we did a couple years ago with the roundtable discussions that we had regarding joint planning agreements. So you'll have that workshop on June 2nd regarding charter county. Then approximately 2 weeks later, there'll be a nice big roundtable discussion with the cities on joint planning agreements as well. That's all I have to report.
What brought on the charter thing?
So charter county was brought on, was a discussion that was initiated, or a topic that was brought up by the chair over concerns that she has, as well as all of us on the county commission, I will say, regarding expansion into rural protection areas in the county, growth into rural protection areas. And so that is a potential tool that she has brought up for wanted discussions about essentially staying out of rural protection areas. And so there's things that you can do in a charter county that you could also do with joint planning agreements, I will add. But if a charter county with the charter county, if you become a charter county, you might get a little more countywide control over that issue, is what her viewpoint is. So we're going to discuss it, go over pros and cons for sure. So I just want everybody to know it's going to happen on June 2nd, and you can, by all means, participate in that.
And council will join in. Is there any way we can get somebody to come coach us, maybe on our second meeting of the month, and give us heads up on what's going to be talked about?
Absolutely.
Because I would like to be really up to speed by the time June 2nd came on that topic.
You want to be up to speed by June 2nd, and then also for that follow-up
Yeah.
2 weeks later.
Like we're having a second meeting this month,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that busy, is it? the second meeting?
It's pretty busy, but we could squeeze it in.
Yeah.
We got time.
You know, maybe yourself, just in this next meeting, kind of give us, if there's 10 points, give us 3 of them in that meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. We'll pick a
Because,
meeting, we can do it. It does take a little time to explain. There's a little bit,
Yeah.
so not to diminish that, but
Sean, would
you
you
want to
have-
have time for it.
Would that be ready by May, mid-May or so? Because June 2nd, we won't have council until after June 2nd. That'll happen before us. So if we get it in May, that would be even,
Well, we're doing it in March. We're going to start at the end of the second meeting this month, probably the second meeting next
Yeah.
month,
kick it in.
and then May too.
Yeah.
That would give us 3 times, and if there's 9 things, 3 times each, you know what I mean? I think we should do that. You guys agree? Okay.
Yeah, then Mayor, I would also just chime in real quick. At my last city manager meetings, we have a monthly meeting where all the city managers from the county come together, just talk issues and help each other out when we have problems. It's a really good meeting, and the managers discussed about getting all the managers and the town attorneys together kind of in a room and kind of look how that would affect the cities, because charters can, and a lot of times do take a lot of control out of the city's hands and put it in the county's hands. They can kind of override so sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but once you kind of start it rolling down, so I will say a lot of the city managers are concerned if they go that route, but you know, I need to understand it more, so I'm going to try to get together with our attorney and get a group together and kind of also report back to you guys and have Anita report back to you kind of the pros
Yeah.
and benefits for Montverde.
Yeah, Sean's up to date on what they're going to talk about in June, so.
Yes.
you can
It's
give us
good, and
that.
we'll do that, and we'll go over the scale of charter counties. There are some charter counties that you wouldn't even know are charter counties hardly, because it's just 1 or 2 things that they address. It's very limited. And then the ultimate charter county, of course, is like Jacksonville, Duval, because that's all cities in a county. They just became one through a charter. Orange County is a very strong, heavy charter county as well. But we'll go through all the examples of that, because I think, as Paula said, you need to know how it might affect you negatively or positively. Yeah.
All righty, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's start with the council. How about you, Joe?
Okay. So, I have a few things actually tonight, shocker. If you guys on council here get a chance to tour that call center, I definitely would recommend it. That was really enlightening.
Yeah, I've been there. It's nice.
It's very nice,
Yeah.
yes. Lisa, thanks for the website. It's definitely improving. So, still a little bit of strides, but it's big improvements from where it was. All right, so I want to congratulate staff, because last Friday, a resident sent an email at 12 o'clock, which office is closed, and actually Sandy in particular had actually responded at 4 o'clock that she will check on it and get back to her on Monday. So I wanted to compliment her on that. That's sort of something I've been talking about. It's nice to see that kind of a response. I spoke with a resident, I guess about a week or so ago, and he actually he offered to donate his time to help us as council and staff, if possible, if wanted, with social media and things like Meet Your Town Council, council member, here's what's upcoming, meet a staff member, things like that. And you know, he was volunteering if he wanted to. He is here if you guys were more interested in something like that. It would give a way maybe of giving some outreach to our residents and more insight as to what we're up to and everything. Let's see. I would actually like to ask for us as council to schedule a strategic planning retreat during the day in a month or so. I know we have an appointment coming up. I'd obviously would like to wait till after that, but I would definitely like to do a retreat for us so that we can all sort of discuss things. I know county does a little bit of this, and we can maybe follow their lead on that if we needed to.
What would you discuss?
Sean, what are some of the things that you had mentioned to me that we discussed? It was, like different projects that we're working on.
Yeah, a retreat setting is, it's out of, like, what we do is we go out of where you would normally meet, and then you just go over long-term vision, mission. What are your goals and objectives? That's what we do at our meeting.
Like Key West?
No,
Hawaii, I'm
center.
thinking. If they're okay with it, go to Hawaii, if they don't care.
So that's something I'd like to propose for us to do.
I'm sorry, what was the topics? I didn't understand. What was the topics?
No, I was just speaking for what we do. He had asked about it, and what we do is we have a retreat. We call it a retreat. So it's an informal setting, and it's usually out of where you normally would meet, but it is publicly noticed, of course, to avoid you don't want any sunshine violations, but you would discuss your vision, mission, what do you want to accomplish over the next, couple of years or a year, so.
I'd like to actually understand what Carol's thinking, what Alan's thinking. We can't discuss those things outside of these meetings, and we don't have enough meetings to do that. I'd also like to look at our different projects that we're working on. We have new council right now, and some things may change. Maybe we don't have the same vision that we had 3 or 4 years ago. So it's just something I would like to sit down and discuss as council openly. If residents want to join, they're more than welcome to. But I think it would just be something that would be good for us to do, so we can all be on the same page.
I like it.
I agree with you that we can't predict the future, and we don't know who will be sitting here, 2 months from now versus 2 years. And I think that's one of the, at least for myself personally, that's one of the things that I try to think about when I make some of the decisions that are difficult to make. Joe's said it more than once, is the perfect example is the limiting the number of houses that you can have per acre, and the fact that we are going to put that in the charter and make it very, very difficult for that to change in the future, because you don't know who's going to be sitting in here.
Correct, right.
So I think almost everybody in here has the same vision of what we would like Montverde to be and to become. It's just figuring out the best and safest way to get there.
Well, I know Paul's got his whiteboard, and that's be kind of a
Paul
council
needs a
whiteboard.
white wall.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, I think that's a neat idea.
That's right. I mean, that's standing. I mean, I think I made the joke to Paul about the library. I said you can have those electronic digital boards, and it can show all of the projects that are on that whiteboard. But at the end of the day, that's still, are those the same projects that we still are interested in? I don't know, because I honestly don't, and I'm being honest, I don't know all of the projects that we have going on. I just don't. There's so many different things, and the question I always come back to, and I know some of the residents have expressed, is that, is it still something we want to be doing? I don't know the answer to that, and that's why I'm proposing this, so we can discuss it openly together in the way that we're supposed to with Sunshine Law, obviously. We can't, as much as I'd love to go knock on one of your doors and talk to you, we can't. And so that's why I'm proposing that. That's why I'm
No, let's
proposing
do it. Okay. I don't know. How would we take that forward? Come up with a day or a week? I mean, we're already doing 2 meetings a week. A month. You want to come up with I can do them during the day myself.
I'm as flexible as you are. I understand, but.
Is there a way we can wrap it in with the picnic somehow? It's a less
The
formal
picnic?
setting, or community picnic.
We're going to be
whatever.
busy on the picnic.
But you take an hour or whatever.
I think it's going to take longer than an hour, Carol.
Yeah.
Sorry, just I think so.
And it'll take more than one gathering to get through all of it. So
Well,
just
it'd
trying
probably
to
be a half
incorporate
day.
something that's coming in the future that's already planned that, but never mind, that's probably too much.
I think we just need to
for-
focus on that, because I think if we have it during a picnic, people, we need to focus on
I mean,
that.
I would throw out, I encourage all the council members, because it's really important you attend that, is come to the Florida League of City Conference, and during that conference, we could set time away, because that's, Mayor and I, we spent a couple hours looking at stuff, talking about what we did. I've talked to a couple other council members there, just individually, and you could post that at the FLC, and there's other council members there. There's a lot of, let's say, time that you would have to do that, where you could take, we're that 3-day conference, a couple hours, and it's already budgeted and paid for.
Right, but we can't do
for
that.
the
We can't all be in the same room together for that without.
If it's advertised, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, it has to be in the town here? Okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
we have to do that here.
I thought Key West.
If you go to Key
I'm
West,
not
you gotta
proposing
take
that,
off.
Joe.
Okay. Well, let's think about it and come back in the next meeting and talk about it. How about
Yeah,
that?
and I think at May meeting, every year I have to submit, which you guys have done every year, the town strategic plan and the capital improvement plan, which is the direction that really staff uses for what we work on. Because as you know, it's not easy to change a project, but most projects, you know, the library was something that started 3.5 years ago, and here we are. So it's just, you know, you could vision and change, but if you change something, it's really hard to do that because a lot of things just aren't quick. You know, it just takes time and process to go through those. You know, the water project, we started that when I got here 5 years ago and just got the funding for it. So I understand what he's saying, but, you know, we will have that strategic capital improvement plan workshop coming up in May, so we could start with that, then maybe see if you guys want to spend some more time breaking out from that at a separate meeting or something like that, or a separate get-together to talk about that.
That's an idea.
I'd like to actually see you like wheeling in your boards and we go over those projects personally. That's what I'm sort of looking at. Like, I just wanted to look at all those projects and go over them.
Yeah,
and
that's a good
discuss them
idea.
all.
Yeah,
That's not
okay.
bad at all.
Okay. All right,
Yeah, I
we'll
think-
think about it and we'll come back and talk about it
think
at the end of
it's-
the month.
Alan?
And we'll be more organized at that point to talk about it. But
I have-
anything else?
Yeah, I have one last thing, and this is one I don't really want to talk about, but I'm going to ask the question. So I talked to Paul, I saved this one for last for a reason. So I talked to Paul, and I'm just going to ask the question. So anyway, so we have the March newsletter, we had the newsletter where you had mentioned about doing the ice cream and everything, and I guess the question I'm going to ask, and I'm just going to ask it, and it's not out of any kind of, it's just me asking the question, is that, I'm assuming that's you paying for that, right? That's not a town, that's not,
Paying for
paying for
what?
the ice cream and everything, that's not a town
There's
expense.
nothing to pay for.
Oh, all right, so, okay, all right, that's all I need to know.
I didn't say I was buying everybody ice cream.
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure, just the way I read it, and that's all, okay, makes sense, perfect.
Oh,
I'm-
yeah, I
I'm good.
know.
That's it.
I'm doing a thing at the ice cream place this Saturday from 1 to 3 and just told everybody to come have an ice cream with the mayor if you want to and talk to me. I didn't say I was paying for
All
it.
right, I'm sorry, that's just how I read it. I guess I'm glad I mentioned it then, because I read it as you were paying for ice cream. So I did ask Paul, so I will get with you, because I do want to put something in that, and just so other councils are aware, you can add something into the newsletter if you wanted to, for if you guys wanted to do an event like that, and, you know, that's up to you guys. I'll let that be you, but I know I have one coming up, so, thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
All righty, how about you, Alan?
Well, spring is in the air. It's nice to be here. I'm going on 67 years, and my dad and grandfather, when we were doing citrus, we never put fertilizer out to stimulate growth until after the Central Florida Fair left town, because it always got cold like it did, rainy, and March always came in like a lion or a lamb and left accordingly. And you can tell spring is in the air. Just go by Publix and see how many people are getting antihistamines for the pollen and everything else floating around. It looks fantastic, our historic town values, when you drive around and see the tababuya trees are in full bloom. The azaleas have popped out, and I think that's really cool to see that kind of landscaping, kind of historic from that point of view. It's been interesting. I say thank you for those who are listening online, watching, and those who are here in the room for all the gardening that you're getting to do, and yippee-doo-yay. So keep it up, and things look great. And that's what I had to say for a nutshell.
All righty, thank you very much. How about you, Carol?
I can echo what Mr. Hartle said. The town really looks nice. Just a follow up on what you mentioned earlier about Triscuit Park. Do we need to have the fence line resurveyed? Because I think the current fence is in the wrong place when we put up the new fence, or that's already been done?
We will. We actually have I found we had a survey done when we did the stormwater project, so we just need to get it marked.
And then the paving of the road from Lakeside to Franklin, that's the little dirt road in front of the.
Correct.
Yep. Way back when, we had talked about closing that off to traffic, but because there's more traffic now, we want to pave it. That's the idea.
No, we discussed it, and council did not want it closed off, was my recollection. And now it's kind of, it's mainly used by golf carts more than anything. Through there.
Yeah.
But we really need it because we still are getting, deliveries through there, so I need to kind of make a widened turn. It really would help with our semi trucks and stuff like that for what it is.
For the maintenance.
Yeah,
for
we're
the
not
maintenance
gonna
guys.
move any trees out, so it'll still be a semi narrow road where it goes through.
Because it's still just gonna come around behind between the houses and the sports courts, right? That's the only way out.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
If we don't do it, then you gotta go out to Porter all the
And
way
then
around
back
just to get
around.
them back to them.
You know, the last thing, the lights of the park are staying on all night. Is that what we wanted?
Say that again?
The lights at the park, Kirk Park, all night?
No, I know Chuck's got a work order for it.
Okay,
He's,
that's all I
they've
need
just
to
been
know.
buried.
He's got an
So
order?
I know it's on
Yep.
his list, so I'll double check with him on that, so.
That's it for me.
Yeah, something else?
Maybe when we get full council back up strength, Jim Peacock used to be, or was our representative to the Lake County League of Cities, and we may need to think about putting somebody else or volunteering for that. Just occurred to me, since Jim's not here, he used to do that on a regular basis. I knew I was his backup, so if we want to, next month or end of this month, when we appoint that person, have a discussion about that. Just thought.
Okay. Great. Let's see, hey, Paul, I wanted to see if you could give the council and the residents update on the water tower on Lakeside and the Ridgewood number of houses so far. So the water tower project, how that's going?
The one in the Butterfly Garden?
Uh,
Or the actual water tower or the water tank at the
No,
Butterfly
the water
Garden?
tower itself, the new one, the new water tower.
For the Butterfly Garden, I just want to make sure.
No,
The big tall one?
yeah,
Okay.
the one we're
okay.
gonna
Oh,
use.
455,
yeah.
yes, okay. So yeah, two projects going on there. So, on the meeting the plans are at 95% for the water tower, so they're ready for bid. The plans are at 95% for the, redundant well, it's ready for bid. What's lacking, on the meeting on the 26th, we're having a public hearing, because we have to have a public update. We've updated the facility plan since our grant money, since we have the $12.9 million in grant money to fund it. The state does require that we have a public facility plan meeting and get public comment. That's included in the facility plan. Then once that's done, we can submit it into DEP. Then DEP will approve with changes or comments. Then once that is done, we can take it out to bid on that. In addition, at that next meeting, I'm also going to have a resolution for additional engineering, utilizing our water impact fees for the water line expansions, to take our 2-inch lines that we have in town to 6 to 8-inch lines, replace half the hydrants in town. So I'm going to have a proposal for the engineering for that, and that also will be 100% funded by the grant money coming forward. So right now we're going to, in this holding period, we have to have a public hearing. Then it has to be submitted to DEP, get comments, and so likely we're probably looking at June or July. I'll put it out to bid. Both of those projects, so possibly under construction by the first of the year.
Are we gonna use some of that 13 million to change the valves? The
Yes.
shut-off valves?
Yeah, we have some major issues with some valves in town, some hydrants that have issues in town. So we should be able to upgrade and update that, pending DEP's approval on that for the grant money, and also upsize or undersize water lines in town as well. Also look at creating some loops. We have some areas in town where, the water can get a little bit ooky. It's still healthy, we test it, but, the more loops you have, the more flow you have going in, so that will help.
Okay, and then Lakeside, how that's going over here? You're gonna widen it pretty soon, right?
Oh, yes, on Lakeside, yes. That's that stormwater widening project. Again, that was grant funded with a different grant. So I think it was about $785,000 contract. And right now, the engineers are collecting all of the insurance information, bond information, and getting the contract ready for my signature. So I'm probably, my guess is I'm going to probably give a notice to proceed in April to move forward with that.
So that's gonna be pretty quick.
That's going to come pretty quick, yeah. So
Okay.
April, May, you'll probably see some activity on there, unless there's a hiccup or something that happens.
And then last, how many homes are occupied now in Mill Ridge? Around about. It's 234 that's
Yeah,
gonna
there's
be built.
234 homes. I know they prepaid their last 55 water impact fees, and so we're at the point where we're not charging water impact fees. So they're down to their permitting their last 50 homes. So my guess is there's probably a good 140 to 150 people living there now. All of phase one is pretty well completely done. And
You mean 150 homes?
or 150 homes
Okay.
with the residents there, correct? Yeah. I would say at least that would be my assumption.
Alrighty. Alrighty. And then Anita, I know you said you might be able to bring to the March meeting the thing that would change it from 3 people to 4 people for density change. I don't know if you didn't, I'd just kind of get an update. What do you think about next month, the end of this month?
I can work on that for later this month, but it may end up being in April.
Okay.
We've just had a lot of changes to make to some of the
That's still
documents.
enough time. I just want to
Yes.
keep on top of it.
No, I
Mhm.
appreciate that, and I'm sorry I didn't get that done for this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and we did discuss it at our last planning meeting, so I know it's definitely on the radar. of what we can
Okay,
confirm
great.
that.
Anita, Paul, what is our time frame to get that to the county so we get it on a ballot? I know
So-
we'll have enough time for it, but
Yeah, I mean, ideally, the council would adopt the ordinance in June, and that would give us July to get it translated into Spanish, because we have to give it to the supervisor elections in English and in Spanish, and then they usually require it by mid-August to make the November ballot.
Alrighty, good question. Thank you. All right, let's move on. The beginning balance of our account was $6,449,404.70. Our ending balance was $6,498,708.40. We'll move on to Truscott Park and the discussion on the water projects.
Consent agenda first, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do the minutes approvals. One for February 11th and one for February 25th. I make a motion that we accept the minutes for those 2 meetings.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against say nay. Ayes have it. Now we can do the Truscott Park stormwater projects.
Sure. So, Mayor, I of course, when we hand the packet, invite you to come out if you want to look at a set of full-size plans. So the plans for Truscott Park are at 60%. Those are in your folders. So basically, it's a stormwater project, and I'll kind of go over it. That has some curb inlets and some sidewalks from 3rd Street on Porter down to 1st Street, and includes a good portion of 1st Street. And so I kind of got that area outline that you see there. And during that last hurricane, as I know some of you are aware, I told you or showed you a picture, we had a huge erosion washout issue with the stormwater detention pond that's in the park. And so the engineers are proposing putting underground storage, similar to what we have here in our parking lot to handle that stormwater. And so that kind of will be incorporated, hopefully with our FEMA dollars, we have the fixed Truscott Park. So those are just 60% plans. I just wanted to make sure everybody's okay before I turn them loose to finish up, and we're going to put them out, get them out to bid. It's a pretty simple project. As far as the area, it's just trying to collect that from Lake Apaka. Again, that was 100%. That one's 100% funded with 80% DEP and 20% Lake County Water Authority, which John helped us get that.
Alrighty, I'll open up to the public. Any comments on that one? Bring it back to the council. Any questions?
If I can just have a motion to proceed with construction documents.
I make that motion.
second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against say nay. Ayes have it. Anything else?
That's it on that. I have just a little bit of stuff on PUDs under the next discussion items.
Yeah, let's do that if you're ready for it.
So at the last meeting, there was a little bit of discussion about PUDs and what's in our code and kind of the benefits. So I just more so, I'm not going to necessarily read through all this for you guys, but our code in section 10-56 really outlines the purpose of why we have PUDs, and it's generally a tool most planners like, and Sean would like, because it does allow a lot of flexibility for the community, the council, the staff to work with the developer to hopefully come up with a good product that addresses environmental concerns, topography, different issues that you may have on a site. So that is in our section 10-56 of our Montverde code. If anybody, just to let you know, all of the town Montverde codes are online. If you just type Montverde Muni code, M-U-N-I code, you can, has a great search bar in there, and you can find anything in the town. If you're looking for setbacks, tree planting, when you guys call and ask a question, that's where we go. It's everything is there on the code, and it's codified, put together, and put in the areas. So, you know, there's opportunities for open spaces. There's, you know, opportunity to deal with runoff and swells, where on your larger sites, you don't have the opportunity to really do that. It is, here's what it is, just go with it. And so that's one of the purposes that allows it. I want to touch real quick on what Sean and Anita talked about, is this pending bill 184, because this is really scary. It really goes against who Montverde is if this bill passes. And as Sean said, it looks like it's getting traction from what he's seeing. And if everybody, I just want to be clear, what accessory dwelling unit is another house that is allowed on your property for someone else to live in. And of course, in the state of Florida, towns cannot restrict anything with VRBOs, period, nothing. It also could allow for rentals. So just to put this in perspective, if this was passed, every person in town would allow to build another house on their property. So if we have a half-acre lot, where you're at Mag Terrace, or where you're in the Pines, whether you're in Four Lakes, you can build another house. So all of a sudden, our half-acre lots become quarter-acre lots. We have some third-acre lots. Those become 1 6-acre lots. We look like Mineola.
You don't divide up the land, right?
You don't divide up the lot, but you can use it for rentals or for some properties, for an accessory dwelling unit for a rental. And go ahead and correct me if I said something wrong there, Anita. I'm fine with that.
The only thing is, it does exempt PUDs.
Yes.
So Mag Terrace couldn't, or the Pines, if they're
not PUDs.
zoned PUDs.
Yeah.
Oh, Mag Terrace isn't?
They're straight zone.
Okay, so any PUDs would be exempt, but otherwise it would apply.
Yeah, I think the only PUD we have is Willow Ridge right now.
Yeah,
Lower.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, just kind of keep an eye on that. You know, if this starts getting traction, I'm going to encourage our community to start calling your legislators, because this could really change the whole look of Montverde. And I mean, I could see a developer coming in, hey, give me a lease on your whatever to build a house, and I'll give you $250 a month out of the rent or something like that. I mean, I could see all kind of creative things from developers and stuff going on there. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's a scary bill, and and I know I've sent a lot of the Florida League of Cities, all the legislations going around. You've seen some stuff in the Live Local Act, and a lot of the bills, what you're seeing is they're trying to create statutes that really take local control away from the towns. I mean, that is really the flavor of almost every bill that's in there in the legislation. Always has to do, you can't charge this water rate, you can't charge this for out-of-town customers, that's back in there again. You have to do this way, you have to do it that way. So just a lot of preemptive over local control and for what you want your community to look like. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Hasn't that come up before?
Which one?
The first one.
The water?
No, the apartment, building another structure on the same property.
I don't know if I've seen this one particularly.
I'm told it has been.
There's current legislation that does discuss accessory dwelling units. I don't recall seeing this one before, but maybe it just hasn't been as much, there hasn't been as much traction, so we don't hear about it as much. But this one, everybody's really talking about this session.
I think, Joe, that was several years ago, never made it out of committee, but it's back. Yeah, that's what I remember on it.
2 years ago, you saw the big VRBO legislation where it took basically any regulations away from communities. All we can really do is make them register. So that was a big one that hurt a lot of cities. Just as an example, you know, the Live Local really had a pretty big impact on commercial industrial properties, where cities had something zoned for a great industrial park or something like that, and now developers can put in a lot of housing there if they want to. And the cities can't stop them. I think that Tavares actually got hit with that, where the developer came in and wanted to do something creative. They got turned down by it, and he said, fine, I'm just going to build several hundred apartment buildings there, and I think he's doing it, is my understanding. So, you know, those are just examples, and we've been seeing this really, I think, for the last, 4 or 5 years, Sean, going through really heavily on preemptive of local control.
The erosion of home rule, yes.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, Highland, Pines, Mag Terrace, they could all have houses be built in back of them houses, because they're all straight zoning, because we never done a PUD up until Middle Ridge. So, hmm? Okay.
Yeah, look at the names on that bill, and then you know who your local legislators are. That's a good one if you want to make a phone call or send an email to your local legislators. If
Who
you know,
is it?
It's Gates
Katz?
and
Corelli?
Conley.
Corelli?
But
Yeah, that's why it's gonna go to hearings now. I mean, they're gonna have hearings on it, so, which means they're taking it somewhat serious. That's Gates.
I could see a
Senator
lot of people
Gates.
get voting out if that ever went through.
Well, I mean, he's elected in the Panhandle.
Mhm.
We don't elect them, so.
Mhm.
But you're talking about other legislators, our legislators, yeah, they should know about it.
Mhm.
so I just put that up. Be involved. It's a good time to call your legislators and tell them how special Montverde is and what this legislation would do to Montverde.
So what was the slide you had before this one?
This is just out of our code. So this is the section of the code. It's 10-56, and it's just it's why we allow the PUDs. And again, it just talks about ability for staff to work to protect open space, create additional open space, density. There's a lot of things that we work with, with the developer when we have that on large lots, and that's why generally it's kind of a preferred. And I just want to bring up, because I know there was a lot of discussion about that last time.
Right, but you say that's why we allow PUDs, but we've never allowed a PUD in Mount Vernon, except for
Willow Ridge,
Willow
yeah.
Ridge.
Yeah.
All the other ones were straight zoning,
Yeah, and I'm not sure when our PUD ordinance went into effect.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to discuss anything with that? Okay. Let's keep moving along. Let's do resolution 2023-87, if you would, please, Anita.
The resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, granting a conditional use permit in a R1L single-family low-density zoning district in the Town of Montverde to permit an outdoor storage business for boats, RVs, and trailers on the herein described property generally located at Fosgate Road and Ridgewood Avenue, Montverde, Florida, owned by Parque Verde LLC, providing for conditions, providing for an expiration date, and providing for an effective date.
All righty, so we have the applicant here, right? If you want to come up and talk about this.
Sure, Mayor, if Mr. Parks does have a quick staff report, if that would be okay.
Oh, does he? Okay,
Yeah,
let
yeah.
me get him to do his
Yeah,
report first.
we'll have a staff report. Lisa's gonna provide the
I'll
staff.
Okay, go ahead,
introduce
yeah,
this. The applicant seeks a conditional use permit for an outdoor storage business for for boats, RVs, and trailers. The staff finds this application consistent with the land development regulations, LDR, and recommends that if this application is approved, that it be approved with the conditions outlined in Resolution 2023-87, and this is based on the analysis provided below. On December 11th, 2024, the P&Z Board recommended approval with a minimum liability policy if environmental impact is foreseen at this time. This recommendation has been added to the resolution. The applicant has 15 petitions of support and 4 letters of concern in the package that you have. And then I have a brief staff analysis here that I can read. Based on section 1011, staff has made the following determination. If the applicant meets all the conditions outlined in Resolution 2023-87, we believe the CUP will not be detrimental to the character of the area or inconsistent with trends of development in the area. The subject property is not highly visible from the main road, and specific conditions for granting the CUP request have been put in place to ensure the least amount of impact to the surrounding community and environment. Once the applicant provides a site plan, which is required as part of the process, Staff will review the traffic analysis and patterns and confirm that the CUP will not cause an unduly adverse effect on existing traffic patterns, movements, and intensity. The CUP is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and staff believes the CUP will not adversely affect the public interest. The applicant has received more letters of support than letters of concern. A conditional use permit may be granted for a use that is generally not permitted in a particular zoning district, but which, if controlled, restricted, or otherwise regulated, would not adversely affect the public health, safety, and general welfare. Such uses may be permitted only if there is compliance with the provisions and standards of this chapter. Conditional use permits shall run with the land as long as the conditions of the original conditional use permit are met. The applicant must sign and accept all conditions outlined in Resolution 2023-87.
You want to put the map up of the site? Yeah.
In council, I'll just add, starting in section 7, page 2, page 3, and page 4 are all the conditions that the applicant has agreed to. So if there's a continual violation of those conditions, you as a council could revoke the use of this permit at any time.
What's the process to revoke it? Does it take a year? Is it an hour and a half? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I could let Anita comment on that, but you know, generally there probably will be a code enforcement issue going on or investigation by myself or my staff. Then we'll do an analysis, and if it warrants a continued violation of something in there, Anita's, I think, is going to look it up, but what I recall is that we would bring it before council and have another public hearing on it, and then you guys will make a decision.
Yeah, it would be a public hearing process before council, where evidence would be presented to the council. The property owner would have the ability to advise you why they don't believe they're in violation, but ultimately you would make a determination if they violated any of the conditions, then you would be in a position to revoke the CUP.
Alrighty, and when it says boats, RVs, and trailers, that means there's no cars, no trucks. We can only have boats, RVs, and trailers.
That is my understanding what the applicant has asked for, and no commercial vehicles, so it's limited to under 26,000 pounds. So that's truly what, and I'll let him speak when he comes up, but he's looking to have a place for people to park their boats and RVs, and also work equipment, where it be a lawn trailer or something along that line.
Right, but Anita, what I'm asking is, if 3 trucks are parked there, do we code enforce them at that point?
The condition in A allows vehicles, boats, RVs, and trailers. So that is what would be permitted. And then there are restrictions on that, like no semi-tractor trailer parking. There was the length restriction, so it's a maximum length of 52 feet for any vehicles or RVs or trailers.
I'm sorry, the first part you were saying, it said what?
In 7A, it does allow for vehicles.
Okay.
Correct.
Alrighty, everybody's okay. I was gonna ask the applicant to come up and talk. Come on up.
Is there a time limit, Paul, as far as, or does it sort of like, as long as he's doing the business, we have that?
Yeah, the answer, there is some limitations on the hours at which he can operate the business, and there's also some noise and dark sky requirements in those conditions as well. And it's
5 to 9, 7 days a week.
yeah, 5 to 9. Here we go, 7 days a week. Yeah. No backup beepers are allowed. As you can tell, the location of it, he has agreed to put a blockade, I guess, either a fence or a hedge all the way around the parking spaces, so people just don't drive off and park into other areas and get close to the residential. So it'll be limited to that area. The applicant has expressed he does intend to continue some farming activities and some plants on the back sides of the property, which he has rights to do those under the town codes as well. And we also have some protections for the wetlands that are there as well. So it'll be putting an environmental swell in like any other property. And again, you will see this again. What you have is kind of in front of you. He'll have to bring back this a little bit more detailed for a site plan. So this is the first process. Then another site plan will come before Planning, Zoning, and Council to approve the final layout.
Go ahead.
So my name is Grant Roberts, 16004 Ridgewood Avenue. I'm one of the managing partners of Parque Verde LLC, and I'm here to discuss our application for a conditional use permit for a boat, RV, and trailer storage area on our property near the intersection of Ridgewood Avenue and Fosgate Road. I'd like to note that my attorney has been working on this project with me. He had a family emergency earlier today, so I'm going to try to address everything on my own as best as I can. So after speaking to several residents nearby, there was a few concerns that I'd like to address. The first being traffic. We anticipate that most of our customers will be local residents. Our facility will offer a convenient storage solution, reducing the need for residents to travel to facilities that are farther away and not adding significant traffic to the area. As far as aesthetics, we are committed to ensuring that our facility is visually appealing. We plan to heavily landscape the road frontage, which will minimize visibility from neighboring properties and roads over time. And then property values was a concern. So contrary to concerns that our facility may decrease property value, storage facilities can serve as an attractive amenity in many communities. Several high-end neighborhoods offer parking areas like what we are proposing as a selling point, and we believe our project will enhance the appeal of Montverde, particularly for boat and RV enthusiasts. And then the last would be environmental responsibility. It is our goal to create a productive use of this previously underutilized land, and we are committed to transforming it into a beneficial community asset. And then any questions you guys have?
Jim, I'm just curious, you got any advertising or how,
Currently, no.
Yep,
Not
that's it.
yet, not until,
word of mouth, Montverde?
I mean, once this gets approved, then we'll start looking into that a little bit more if it gets approved.
I got one. I'm just holding it up so it's easier. So this one here, what's sort of the, I've sort of highlighted this in red right here, this area.
Okay.
Sort of separates your property and Mag Terrace area. That's, I guess, the unused area of Mag Terrace. Oh, all right, you guys that up there. Are you gonna, what's the plan for along there? Are you gonna do like a fence, or are you doing anything? I saw a fence in here.
It's heavily wooded. I mean, you could barely walk through there.
Would you object to like putting no trespassing signs along that area just in case people
To
decide
keep out Magnolia Terrace?
No. The other way. No, I mean, you could put both ways, I guess, if you
Yeah.
wanted to, but no, I meant for obviously anyone that's parking the vehicles there.
Right now, we're really just focusing on the area that you can see on the site plan there. I mean, we could put we're going to put a landscape buffer around the entire site. So, and what was it? No wetland lines?
Yeah, so I think, am I correct? I can't read the number there, but there's almost a 400-foot buffer between
Just between
the
our
parking area and the Mag Terrace, and then that's a common area that which a lot of it's wetland that it goes up to in the Mag Terrace HOA.
the nearest
on
house in
Mag
Mag Terrace, I think, is like 700 feet away.
My only concern was just people wandering off the path, heading that direction for fun, I guess.
I mean, I just can't see it being an issue, but
All right.
Yeah, I will also just add, we are requiring them to put either a fence or a heavy hedge around the whole entire parking area. In addition, he's going to have to put an environmental swell that they'll have to traverse through, just FYI.
That was another question for me. You got that. So there was, I did read some of these letters, the petitions for support and everything. One of them was, I won't mention the name, but it was please maintain an easement. That was an easement one for 4 Lakes.
I think they meant like a landscape buffer on that one as well.
And then there was, which is referenced, maybe Paul, what you were mentioning, there was maintain a privacy buffer along the pond.
Yeah, we're going to surround the entire site.
All right.
Where did it say how many vehicles or how many spots are there?
We're requesting 50.
50, okay. Okay, so in order to grow that.
It's in
you would
7A,
have
it's a
to-
maximum of 50 parking spots.
Okay.
just to clarify what I think Paul briefly went over when we were talking about the hours, excuse me, hours of operation. Backup beepers are permitted. Backup beepers are prohibited from being used prior to 7. So outside of those hours, you can beep, beep, beep.
We're going to put it in our contracts to minimize
Minimize
noise.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just whatever you can. I mean, we'll make a note in there. And like I said, I think I mentioned before that staff can review whatever contract that we draw up prior to, you know.
Jake breaks, that's all cool.
I'm not familiar with 26,000-pound vehicle. Is our dump truck 26,000?
Yeah, ours is just right under. So when you go to 26,000, that's what. So our dump truck is right at 26. When you go over that, becomes a CDL. So that's usually when you get into your air brakes and things along that line. So our dump truck, you don't need a CDL. If you did anything bigger than that, you would.
Well,
Is that correct, Mr. Hartle? Did I say that right? Okay.
Your class C and B would be a Ryder U-Haul 26-foot, 24, 26 dry box with a single axle for a moving van. That's for a whole house. That's the size that you'd be looking at.
that's a 26,000? So like a 24-foot budget truck is a...
Would be
26,000.
under, yeah.
I do see a letter in here from the EPA. I guess the only other question I had is, that would be, I'm assuming you have insurance for business use, right?
Yes, so the town's going to require a general liability policy and the environmental insurance as well.
Thank you.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we open it up to the public? We'll get some questions, and then we'll have you come back and answer some.
Okay.
All right. Now let's go ahead and start the ball rolling. Anybody want to talk about it?
Larry Contney, 16516 Manuel Terrace. It's my understanding they're operating with a conditional use permit now to do this nursery stuff that they already got. So now they want to do a conditional use for an industrial site. So I really don't think that works with Montverde residential at all. The other thing is, if you look at his nursery stuff right now, he's going out and extending it a lot more. So if he wants all that space, he should use this space that he's trying to change for his nursery. We don't need industrial in the town of Montverde and residential at all. That's it. You're setting up a precedence that anybody else in town can do the same thing. Now you got a whole bag of worms going on. Not right. Not at all. That's not our town. That's it.
And council, just real quick for clarity, the front parcel of the property is zoned Montverde Agriculture. So he does have the right to run the nursery at a wholesale level, which he's doing, a Florida state right to do that. And the back is R1L, where this is conditional use permit is going. But we do allow agricultural uses on R1L under the town zoning code.
But he can't sell to the public.
Correct.
Okay.
Hi, Council. Bob Tomlinson, 16634 Magnolia Terrace, Montverde. Well, I don't know how many people are here that have been living here since the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, but I did get the word of the Montverde Town City Dump. And I did get it from an individual that almost all of us know, and that is David Harden. He and I had a conversation regarding this particular area, and he was first shocked that they were even thinking on putting anything there. I did bring the map, the Google map that we all have seen, and he said, let me tell you, right where they're planning on putting that, that was the city dump. In fact, that city dump was there from the 60s and the 70s, and that was put on by the management or City Hall. And the person that really ran that was Mr. Hicks, and he was the superintendent for the town at the time. Now what happened is everybody used that dump for their roughly anything that they wanted to throw. They just took it all in there and they put it, and it was right where, exactly where you have all of the parking lots that are going to be there. That's one thing. The other thing is the thing that really upset him is that Tower Chemical was also putting their 55-gallon drums there. In fact, the mayor at the time and also Hicks made it clear that you cannot bring any more of the 55-gallon drums and bury them there. Now, in the early 80s, things started changing. I didn't even know this, but in the early 80s, that's when Four Lakes was changing and being developed. The person that developed that was an individual by the name of Mr. Smith. And he actually dug the lake that's there, and all of that literally went on top of all of the dump that was there. Not only that, there was a situation where there is a belief that there is a cover-up, because at the same time, there were many, many 55-gallon drums of the United States agriculture they were dumping and cleaning up Lake Apopka, and they were using all of those 55-gallon drums, and they were dumping them off. Now that became interest to some of the people that were here, especially some of the fishermen. There was actually an explosion that was right here next to Willie's, and that happened back in the 80s. There was a company that did some iron work and what have you, and what they were doing is they were using the 55-gallon drums to make rafts to be able to go out and fish off the rafts. Well, when they fired some of them up, one of them blew up, nearly killed the individual, and blew out all of the windows that literally is where Willie's barbecue is. So these are some of the stories that David Harden told me. So, and David, as you all know, he doesn't lie. He tells it the way it is. He said, now, the government probably, and also they're even he believes that also Lake County is involved in it as well, because they knew about the dump. They covered it up because they needed to put these 55-gallon drums someplace, and that was the place to put them. So the EPA report that has been brought out, he said, Bob, I'm telling you, I saw it all. I personally saw every bit of it. I was personally dumping there as well. And in fact, in the late 70s, that's when Mr. Hicks was ordered by management or the mayor at the time to put a cable across there, and now you can only dump on Sundays. And he came there and he opened the cable up to be able to do the dumping, and then eventually it stopped. And then it was covered up. All of this was covered up by Mr. Smith when he developed and dug out the lake that's there. So this is the history that, come on, none of us knew about until we were able to sit with someone that actually grew up here and had a family that grew up, and he's 91 years old right now. So that's what you all are going to approve to be put to go there. Personally, it needs to be re-looked at, and that's my opinion. It's your town. You're supposed to put it together. That's that. The other thing I want to bring out, that's number one. Number two is regarding the applicant. What is the benefit that the town's going to be benefiting from the approval of this application? How's the town going to benefit from it? Because I know the applicant's going to benefit from it for, what, close to $200,000 a year. But how is the town going to benefit from it? What is the benefit from the town? next question is, what are the violations and what are the fines that the applicant owes right now for all of this? What would that be? Do we have an approximate? Because if this gets approved, then the town doesn't get that money. So the town loses now.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
No, that's not accurate.
We don't give that money back.
Pardon?
We never said we'd give that money back.
No, I'm talking about what he owes. He hasn't paid it.
I know, Bill, he has to pay it.
Oh, well, shouldn't the public know what we're talking about? And why has that not been paid? I mean, that to me looks like it's an integrity problem that we've got. All right? If it were me and the town said to me, Bob, you've got a problem, you've got to pay a violation, I'm not going to hold it off and keep it going, and then try to change it to where I don't have to pay it anymore, because if it changes, you told me at another meeting that it all goes away. Am I correct?
Is that correct, Anita?
They're two separate issues.
Okay, that's not correct. Who told you that?
That's, I believe you meant you said that,
So
Paul.
The enforcement order requires the applicant to come into compliance or get a conditional use permit or change the zoning for the property. And I don't remember what it was. It's been a while with X amount of days, and after that, fines start kicking in until it gets done. Okay. So by him bringing the application forward, he's working toward that and clearing up that enforcement order. So he's accumulating fines, and the only way those fines will go away if the special master approves to reduce them for some cause, or he comes for council and asks for a reduction.
Right, so we have to approve it.
Okay, all right. The other thing is, you and all of us see that there's boats and trailers and everything right there. My question to ask the applicant, is he making money right now on something that he shouldn't be making money on? And we know he's making money on it. So we've got an integrity issue here and a character issue. This is not like a professional company coming in and saying, I'm going to make it right and really make it look good. He's making claims right now, oh yes, I'll make it right and I'll make it good. He's not made it right good at all in the beginning. Why in God's name are you giving him basically a get out of jail card on this and giving it away when it's not really benefiting the town, just him? So who are we really working for? And furthermore, he makes himself look like he's even bigger than the town because he's doing it and getting away with it. And please understand, this is all being videoed, and there's a lot of people that are watching this right now, and they want to see what you're going to vote on this and how it's going to go down based on what I've just told you all. And it's all facts.
Bob, I'd like to address Tower Chemical issue. Do you know where Tower Chemical is?
Yeah, right next to you. Well, your area there, yeah.
Were you there in 1972?
I was not.
I was. Our property butted up to it.
I know, it was terrible.
I'm going to bring some points up on the EPA did their study. They cleared the site. 1974, shut it down, the town of Montverde's dump site. A little background. I spent 40 years with the EPA on Tower Chemical, and I probably know more than a lot of the bloggers who are complaining about this, that, and the other. I lived it. Most of them weren't even here when it happened.
Absolutely.
We bought chemicals from Tower Chemical when we were in the grow business. A lot of people did. The stuff that Tower Chemical was wasting, if it hasn't shown up in water supplies by now, it never will, if it was even there. We did studies, I've got studies go back 50 years that did standards of testing. There would be fish kill. You would see all kinds of things in the fish. The reports back in the late 70s and 80s showed what it did to Apopka. It traversed over 2 miles to get to Lake Apopka through underground springs from the retention ponds. okay?
Mhm.
No report ever showed up from EPA on their sites of any of that stuff was there. Everyone talks about the drums are gonna explode. I guarantee you, I work in petroleum chemicals. A 2018 gun drum buried underground will not last 50 years to leak out. If it's gonna leak, it would have already leaked a long time ago, especially since that property sits so close to the lake's retention bonds. That water flows from there into Bella Colina's reserves. There's been no reports of fish kill or toxic substance showing up in their water supply.
The only thing
So-
I'm bringing out is what I was told. I'm just being a messenger
There's an
from.
eyewitness here.
I'm
I
an
understand.
eyewitness, and I fought
Did you dump
EPA.
there as well?
No, never
Okay,
did.
so-
Never had to.
But my point is, I'm talking about people that have and that knew about the dump. That's all I'm bringing out. I'm just reporting what I have heard. I wasn't here, but I wanted to get to the bottom of what this was all about. And I had no idea that things were being built, exploding in this town, and all of this because of 55-gallon drums that were trying to being made to be able to actually do a fishing and helping the fishing in Lake Apopka. When I heard all of these stories, I was blown away. And then David Harden was absolutely said, I can't believe they're even thinking about putting a RV park there. Good Lord,
Well,
you got to be kidding me.
I would be more
Yeah.
concerned about disposable oil that was dumped back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Oil has a more retention life than the toxins that were dumped at EPA's site at Tower Chemical.
Okay.
They are forever chemicals, period.
The only point
The
that I'm bringing
benzene in 'em
out,
is
the only point
forever.
that I'm bringing out, it was a dump, and it was a dump there for 2 decades. That's one. But the other point that I'm bringing out is the integrity of the applicant that we're dealing with.
Yeah, we got it. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Terry Tiley, 16702 Highland Avenue in Montverde. I have a problem with this gentleman, and I have a problem with the way he accused young Mr. Roberts of lack of integrity and all. And they're not going to be pumping water out of there for drinking water. It's for people that don't have space in their yard to park their trailers, to park their RVs. So you're not going to pump anything out of there. The homes have already been built that are going to be built back in that area. And as far as integrity, I've known his family since we went to church together back in the 90s. And they're an upstanding family. There's nothing wrong with this young man's integrity. And I do take offense to that because he doesn't know him. But I've known him since he's about this high. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. McQuaid. Anybody else?
Sam Davidson, 17520 Palmview Avenue. Basically, you're taking a piece of property that probably, if you hadn't rezoned it to ag, would have a bunch of homes on it right now, all the way back into there. And the people that are complaining that's looking over there to see this would be looking at another development. He's not putting his nursery back there. He's taking a piece of land and he's parking something on it, which is basically the least impactful thing you could do to that piece of property. So I see no problem with it.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name's Lynn Grantham, 17551 County Road 455. My wife is Carol. I have a question about the exemption for the zoning on this project. A couple of questions. One is, will there be 24-hour lighting that will disturb the neighborhood, light pollution? Will there be a hard restriction on this will not turn into a repair shop or light industrial work? It will be parking only?
Yeah,
And-
I just, right here it says you can't even do an oil change.
Okay, and so there'll be no covered building sheds or anything like that?
I don't know about that, but there won't be you can't work on any vehicles.
Mm. So there won't be any restroom on the facility like that, so people can come and work part-time and do maintenance work on the
No.
facility? Parking only?
Nope.
So that will be specified as one of the,
That's
one of the
in, it
restrictions?
is, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The lighting will also follow the dark sky as well, the initiative.
All right, anybody else? All right, I'll bring it back to council. You guys want to discuss it?
I guess one of the concerns will be the fines. Like, that's something that is, I do understand that complaint, or that question. You know, and I know it's going to come back to us at some point.
Well, it won't if the magistrate lawyer, right? Anita, and magistrate lawyer could handle
I
that?
couldn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
No, I just had mentioned that a valid question was brought up about the fines. And I said, is that going to come back to us at some point on council?
I think it's just an enforcement order, so it has to go to special magistrate, but at some point it could come back. I mean.
Right.
Yeah, it's up to the special magistrate once this hearing is over with, whether it's approved or not approved, then it goes back to the special magistrate for further action.
Right, and he could find him right there, right?
He could, the special magistrate could uphold that the fines remain in place until
Okay.
the property's in compliance.
Is that good?
That answers my question, yeah.
Yeah, in the code enforcement thing, we don't have a board no more, we have a lawyer, and he's the magistrate, and he makes the decisions on it. And, he could push it to us, but I haven't seen that happen yet.
Yeah, so, I mean, the process would be, go, next point would be special master. Once this gets resolved, the town will go for enforcement and a lien. The special master will determine the final lien amount based on testimony. Then, after that lien is set, then I believe the applicant has the right to come, appeal that process to you or that fine or ask for a reduction in it. And that'd be up to the council.
All righty, so we can move this forward. Anybody else?
I wanted to ask Alan a question.
Go ahead.
So as a witness, I'm asking you this part, that part.
Okay.
You don't feel there's any concern to anything in the ground. I'm not sure I'm asking the right question here.
Well, I don't know that
I'm not
for sure,
asking you,
but
obviously, for 100% certainty.
I'm gonna say it was shut down in '74, correct? Lake County shut it down. How many hurricanes have we had since 1974 to current? How many feet of water have been dumped on that property to leach? We had 4 lakes back up, overflowed. How long did it take them? 2 months to pump, Joe, to get the
Yeah,
water?
that whole area is flooded.
I mean, it was flooded. I
Flooded,
mean,
yeah, it took
there
2
was
months.
no smell, there was no dieback of vegetation, there was no fish kill in Bella Colina's retention ponds that I ever had heard of. I mean, we saw fish living in both retention ponds for 4 lakes. You would think that with probably 200 inches of rain, you would think, especially since that was low and the lake bottoms were dug out and put on top, that wasn't exactly fill dirt. You would think that if anything leached, you'd see it by now. That's my observation.
Thank you. I still, one more question I had, I think, well, at least one more, I guess. The applicant, I'm asking directly. So the question I have for you is, just to clarify, you are fencing everything off?
With a vegetative buffer, no fencing so far.
So vegetative, all right. Okay. I still personally would like to see no trespassing signs, just personally. But we
So
can get to
on
that.
the edge of the storage area or along our property line with Magnolia Terrace?
Heading into the Mag Terrace direction.
So on the east side of the storage
North,
facility.
south, and east. I'm going to be.
So
Can
on the
you
right
put
side.
that back up, that picture you had? There you go. No, the other one.
This
The
one here?
picture actually, there it is. You're saying that that's 300-400 foot?
There's 400 feet of woods from the site that we're talking about doing this with to our property line. And then from there, there's about another 200 or 300 feet of Magnolia Terrace's park that they never utilized.
Are you going to add any kind of security in there?
We have a couple cameras up, but that's about it.
My concern, I could see people walking into that direction to relieve themselves. I'll put it politely. How's that?
I mean, they're gonna have to go 400 feet to go to the next piece of
listen,
property.
make
I think
your
that'd be my
calls
problem
sometimes,
before
right?
it's someone else's.
All right.
Well, Grant, you've got on Fosgate, you're enclosed with two gates to the existing, and then the other gate on the north side and the south side of Fosgate, so that's already fenced.
Yeah,
5-foot fence.
the
so I
road
mean,
frontage is already fenced in.
You're basically landlocked in.
Yeah.
On the north side, you go down to the retention pond anyway, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so.
Hey, Mr. Roberts, I guess let me throw this. Would you be opposed to, on the boundary of the parking areas, to put some no trespassing signs up around the boundary where the shrubs are?
Yeah, I think, what was it, every 50 feet we have to put wetland, do not enter? We can just
Yeah, so
attach it to the
We do have
same.
that up there already going on, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it says do not enter. So I don't know. We could add no trespassing on there.
I mean, me personally, I'm gonna talk, I mean, me personally, I'm looking at Alan, and he's been there, he was in that area. I'm not overly concerned about anything under the ground. I'm talking, listening to him, he was there, for me, I'm just concerned about the privacy of the residents. That's my concern. But
Yep.
I think by doing the signs. And again,
So the
this is-
privacy from anyone that can see it physically from their own home, because it's like three houses.
In the pathway in. Again, I know it's 400 feet to wooded area. The other, okay, I'm just gonna.
Hey,
this
Joe,
is-
by law, Florida land, agricultural land is automatically posted, whether it's a sign there or not. That's state statute.
Okay, all right, thank you. And again, this, if I'm not mistaken, this is, say, 6 months from now, Grant parks cranes there, and I'm just throwing this out there, but I'm not saying, it can come back to us again.
Well, it goes through the process.
Code
Go ahead and
process would
explain
be-
that, Paul.
Can you explain that process one more time, please?
Sure, so if I received a complaint, and also within this agreement, the applicant does allow me as town manager or my designee access to the property to occasionally inspect it to make sure they're in compliance, and we agree to that. But if we receive a written complaint from a person, I'll investigate the complaint, make a finding, I will send a notice out to the applicant. If it's not cured, it could result in a code enforcement case or possibly coming back to the council, depending on the severity, for having the CUP revoked.
Also, we tried to specify that we still operate an ag operation on the front. Occasionally, an ag vehicle might go in the back because it is a convenient loop for a semi to turn around. So if there's a semi coming to bring fertilizer or pick up plants, obviously we don't want any issues with the town thinking that it's being parked back there. But we kind of had some wording in the resolution that addressed that as well.
Yeah, we can't discuss the fines right now, correct? Okay, all right, thank you. I'm good, thank you.
All righty. Anybody else want to talk to the applicant? All righty. I need a motion or some more discussion, or we can take a break and come back tomorrow.
That's an option.
Resolution 2023-87, I so move for approval.
I have a motion for approval for the resolution. Can you do a roll call vote? I need a second first, I'm sorry. Does anybody have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, can you please do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Morganelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Hartle,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Womack,
Yes.
Mayor Weincoop.
Yes. Okay, we have, straight across the board, 4 votes for yes, so it's been approved.
You know, there's no doubt in my mind that there was probably stuff at one point in time buried back there, but the only thing that I have before me that actually I can go by is what has been presented via the state of Florida, via the Department of Environmental Regulations. That's the information that I base my vote on.
Well
Okay.
said.
All right, well, let's move on to our next fun topic. You guys.
Ordinance 2024-44, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, to change the zoning from Lake County Agriculture to Town of Montverde Single Family Residential PUD for the herein described property owned by Montverde Land Co. LLC and located north of Osgood Road, west of Lake Apopka, and partially east of Kirk Island Road, directing the town manager to amend the zoning map as hereinafter provided after the passage of this ordinance, providing variance or approving variances from the town code with conditions, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Alrighty, so here we go with it's the PUD. The applicant's trying to get a PUD for the Osgood Grove, 111 acres, which 30 of it's wet, 80 of it's not wet, and there's a half-acre requirement for each lot. Which, real quick, what did we start with? We started 3 years ago with like 300 and it's well over 300 lots that they wanted, 340 or something like that. We've been going back and forth for 3 years, and we made the state make it a definite that they have to have a half acre per house, and has to be 2 homes per acre gross. So we're down to under 140 homes, 136, 138, something like that. And that's taken 3 years, by the way, and at least 600 meetings. So,
601.
so that's where we're at, and everybody's been real good and patient about everything, and I appreciate it because it is a real big deal for us. So if you want, do you want to add anything?
Sure. Mayor, I have a quick little summary of kind of a little bit what you cover over, just a little bit of detail just for the council so they know exactly what's in the PUD, and I'll just go over that real quick so everybody can kind of know. So as the mayor said, it's the site is 111.41 acres. Through the comp plan, they're entitled to R1L low density zoning, and if I say that incorrectly, Sean, correct me on that. So minimum lot size the council put in the comp plan is half acres per lot. They're entitled under that comp plan entitlement of 222 lots. They have a requested zoning for 139 lots on their site. Their approved density through the comp plan is 2 dwelling units per acre. The plan that they're presenting to the council is 1.45 dwelling units per acre. Within that, there is a combination of lot sizes, and that's kind of in the little box there, which is a little bit better, but they range from the 60-foot width up to 253 foot for the largest lot. So it's a combination. That's kind of what that PUD encourages, a little bit of variety in different sizes. So you can kind of see those outlined within there. And there's also a variety of lot sizes. So of those 139, 90 are between that half acre and 0.54 acres, and then go up from there for the different lot sizes. So they have some that are additional size than the half acre. The different requests are in there is for a front yard setback of 20 foot, rear yard setback of 20, lake front rear setback of 50, side setback of 7.5, street side setback of 10, 15% open space, 50% impervious space, lot size half acre, wetland buffers 25 foot, boundary buffers 30 foot, and building height 35, which is consistent with Montverde. In addition, some of the other one of the other issues are brought up on their drain field. They're going to use a on-site distributed waste technology for the site with one drain field. We asked them and talked with them about that, and a lot of it is just some restrictions that they have on the land that won't allow them from percolations to have different drain fields on each lot going through there, because there are some wetlands all around it and obviously the lake. So what we asked them for a graph, and from the property line, not from the house line, but from the rear property line, the facility that would be that drain field is a minimum of 50 feet away from the neighboring property line. With included in that is the walkway trail system that buffers it. In addition, it's going to be heavily landscaped, which will take place in the site plan when we get into that review. The other issue that got brought up was protecting, there is a private drive in the back. Per council's direction, we did look at that with the developer, and we're able to get the topography of the area, and making a connection through the street and the town would result in nearly a 25% grade, which would make it very difficult. But what the concern from council is that we would have people that, say, own one of the lots there in the middle would use the private drive, trespass across other people's lots, and illegally be on that private drive to access their rear lots. So what the developers have agreed to do is put an upper wetland buffer in there, which, so no one can put a ladder on the wall, basically the access, so that land is set aside, and it's used for a buffer for the wetland not to be developed and not to be used. And so that is highlighted in there to kind of address that concern that we had. Within the PUD, the applicant is agreeing to install irrigation pumps and a separate irrigation line for the landscaping, which you know from just having our CUP, we have to go there anyway. So we've worked through that with the applicant. Per town manager and our request within our standards, they're going to provide archaeological monuments along the walkways and the streets. The applicant, this was obviously dealing with the transportation and what to do. The applicant has agreed to provide approximately $1.63 million in funds to take care of 8th, 9th, and Temple Street. So that's a big change from our last conversation that we've had. So that'll be in a combination of upfront payment to the town and also the collection of impact fees going forward from the town. They've also agreed to do half-mile landscape recreation trail, which I showed you on that last map. They've developed standards within the PUD that protect the wetlands and also the lake. So we talked about the environmental swell, the protection and green space that we have along the lake that would be managed by the HOA. They've also have agreed to pretty well do a lot of enhanced landscaping, and Sean could, if you have questions on that, he could definitely answer. That was more of his thing on there. Just so they have some really enhanced landscaping design standards from what you'll see from a normal development. And that was kind of everything in a nutshell. I just wanted to cover that really quick so you know exactly what you're looking at and considering tonight. Be glad to answer any questions, or obviously Anita, Sean, and Lisa are here to answer any questions you might have on the development as well.
That whole list of stuff, I'm sorry, that's in the PUD. If we say no PUD, then that whole shopping list of stuff goes away. Maybe,
correct.
maybe
So,
not.
so if you deny the PUD, what's in there would go away. Then they could bring another PUD or just go to straight zoning, and it would just be, here's my zoning approval, I guess.
And then on the other side of the coin, we have the state of Florida that is contemplating the idea of, if your development is a PUD, we will grant you permission to put another house on your
No,
lot.
that's
The other way
backwards.
around.
That's
The other way
backwards.
around.
It's the other way.
If you are in a PUD development, then you can add a house. If you are PUD straight zoning, then you do not get to add a house. In short, is that the way I understand it?
No.
I still
If
have it
you're-
backwards.
If you're straight zoning, they're going to be maybe allow people to put a house behind it.
Right,
If
straight
it's
zoning.
been a PUD, they
Then you
can't.
can't. Correct, okay.
But that's all pie in the sky at the
That-
moment,
that
too.
is.
Yes, it is.
That
Yeah,
is
there's
all
no
pie in the
guarantee that's
sky.
going to happen.
No,
at
that's
all.
So nothing about grandfathering or any decision we make today stays today, despite what, nothing, no backdoor, no way around, no
No.
nothing, for anything that may or may not happen in the future. Okay.
That's correct.
What'd you say?
We don't know what's
Best
coming.
day ever.
Yeah. We don't know what's coming in the future.
You said anything that's not. in
Any
the-
way to get around anything that may or may not happen in the future, which covers your ass all the
okay,
way
I got
around,
you.
no
All right,
matter what.
all right.
Grandpa wins.
Yeah,
That's it.
pretty much.
And now the road in the back, explain that a little deeper, Paul.
Sure. Let me go to that. So the road in the back is going to stay and be just like it is. The developers aren't going to touch it. You know, they will have to make a crossing on it for stormwater pipe things, and they'll repair whatever they do. They'll have to work with the owner. Then when they do their final plat, that whole area that's highlighted, they're going to set that property aside. It'll be similar to a conservation property. It's going to be called an upper wetland. So the owner of the property who buys that lot in the middle can't utilize that property. So they
Can't build
they
nothing
can't
on
put a
it.
shed on it. They
Yeah.
can't put a birdhouse on it, or you know,
Right.
that property is strictly set aside to help protect the wetlands that feeds the lake.
Right.
quick.
And what that does, it keeps the people off, the persons who owns that road, it keeps them off of their road basically because they're not allowed to access
Right,
it.
so it goes back to the island.
Yeah,
And
and
it's-
in addition,
Okay.
we talked with the applicant, they will put signage on there, it's gonna say upper wetland buffer, no trespassing, things along that line, or authorized vehicle only for the person that lives there, something similar to that, we'll work with them to protect that.
So those would be the cheaper homes to buy.
I need a quick question for you. The state of Florida allows for agriculture for conservation easements, which are paternal once they're set up. Is that an advantage for the developer or for the town to set that yellow highlighted area as a conservation easement because that lasts forever? That would be
The problem
registered.
with the conservation easements is somebody has to maintain those as well. I mean, so this being an upland buffer, there's gonna be language in their deed restrictions to that. There'll be language inserted on the plat
Okay.
relating to that, which goes on until there's a plat amendment. So I think it
Okay.
definitely will go on in perpetuity.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, because I know agriculture people are turning property into conservation easements, and that's for the end of the earth, that they can't be touched, so that was my question. Thank you, that's resolved it.
So Mr. Anthony doesn't have to worry about anybody building anything on the back part of that lot.
That is correct. So there will be a wall separating the homeowner from the property. The homeowner can't put a ladder down there to access it to play, so his property, his access easement is protected. And it also protects the wetland, obviously, of course.
And it protects the homeowner from the gators coming up.
True.
So I spent almost 3.5 hours going through the traffic study, and I'm gonna save it all because it's not really relevant right now, but I will say that us as council should have our own traffic study for things like this. I do think that's something that we should look at doing, because we're sort of taking the applicant's traffic study. And if I'm gonna walk into a Ford dealership and tell them I'm looking at Ford and Dodge, they're gonna talk me into Ford, they're not gonna say Dodge. They're just not, and so this is a very one-sided traffic study, in my opinion.
Let me explain how I thought about that.
Okay, please.
After being here 30 years, living downtown right by this property, I started thinking, okay, well, what have we built in the last 25 years? And Mag Terrace is one that just sticks out to me, and it has 130 homes. Mag Terrace has 4 entrances, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. And I've been up and down Ridgewood many, many times, and I've been in Mag Terrace many times. And I kept asking and running through my head, do I have any problem at all with the traffic that comes out of Mag Terrace? And I have to keep saying, no, I don't. So I'm trying to convince myself one way or the other at that point, and I finally just came out with, I don't think there's going to be the traffic that we're worried about out of this project, because this is 107, it's actually 7 more homes, and I just don't have a problem with the 130 homes on Ridgewood. That's the best way I can explain it.
The difference, their study actually admits that Montverde Academy traffic already causes congestion. So now the difference with Mag Terrace is you're on Ridgewood, and that's another, again, we need to discuss Ridgewood at some point when they open the bridge, because that's gonna be an issue, but that's not here nor there. But there is definitely a difference when you look at the two, you have different locations. Here you have 2 ways in and out, one of which going by
3.
school. Well, 455 and 7th
Well, it's
Street.
3 entrances, Temple.
I'm talking about out of the, I'm sorry,
Eighth
I mean
and
out of the
ninth.
town. I mean out of town.
in and
Coming
out
in
of
and out
town.
of town.
Oh, I
to
see,
that.
either this way or this way,
Right.
yeah, okay.
And the school is expanding, so they're gonna continue to grow. And so there is still gonna be that. And I've seen a lot of close calls just on regular days where actual Montverde parents just blow through the stops and they don't
Mhm.
look. So I think that to me, there's a difference when I look at the two and I look
Mhm.
at the traffic between the 2 locations.
Mhm.
Their study states additional trips during peak hours could slow emergency response times, especially for fire and EMS. And yes, I know the fire department's going out there, but that's a concern too. You know, every second counts, and David had done a really nice report for us where showed how much, you know, their time has definitely gotten faster.
I guess what I was getting at is, I didn't really look at the traffic report. I already know the town, and I know 455, and I know Ridgewood, and I know what's going around in the town. I look at it and say, okay, if we put 137 homes here, how much traffic, most of the traffic, in my opinion, is gonna go towards Hancock, that way. But there's gonna be obviously some that goes towards 50. And then we're gonna have Fosgate soon, so they're gonna go up Ridgewood to Fosgate. So it's gonna go 2 or 3 different ways. I don't know, I mean, Alan's been here a long time too. Go ahead and give your.
Mike, I agree with your sentiments, Joe. The thing I haven't heard is from Sean. What's the county gonna do? Because that's your road. Are you gonna put a roundabout there, forced to put a roundabout or a traffic light? I mean, that would come back to the county if it becomes a situation where it is a problem. We can't do anything about it. That's county
Where's the
owned, so
roundabout?
that goes,
Where are you talking about a roundabout? I'm sorry.
if we have to put Joe's talking about getting on to 455.
Yeah,
It's a
7th,
problem.
8th, or 9th
Okay,
Street.
so
That's what I'm saying.
do
Yeah,
you,
correct. What do we do there?
does the county gonna say, well, man, this is a bad traffic mess. We're gonna put roundabout, we're gonna put $1 million traffic light
Where,
Yeah,
though?
we gotta get a
On
traffic
8th and
light in
9th?
this town now?
on 8th or
it's like
9th,
they did
yeah.
coming out Bella Colina.
Which wouldn't be ours.
I
That's,
got you.
that's owned by them. Now we're gonna put it in towns, the Lake County's lap and say, you guys got a problem, fix it, right? I mean, am I assuming that wrong or missing something there? I mean, that's the way I kinda read into it. It's maintained by the county, owned by the county. It would become,
I gotta say though, when the county has a problem, for Montverde, they step up and handle it.
Yep.
They
The
sure
county
do.
is part of the review process, and so their engineering department reviewed the same documents that the town received and reviewed, and they did not have any comments other than the fire safety concern of the width of the roads. But, they didn't make a determination that improvements were needed on County Road 455.
I guess the question I'm sort of asking here is if you follow this thing all the way through and you go down, we're saying 7th, 8th, I'm just looking at 55, 7th, 8th, and 9th Street will have increased turning movements because you're going to be coming out those roads turning onto 455 left or right. So you're going to have cars from the academy parents coming and going in the morning. My concern is just people trying to make a right-hand turn, a left-hand turn with all that traffic going on. And like Alan mentioned, is that are we going to now officially going to get a traffic light? Which, you know, that makes us, you know, that puts us on the map. Not for a good
I don't
thing,
know, I
though.
keep going back to Mac Terrace and say, how many times do I go down
Yeah.
Ridgewood and there's cars waiting to get out of Mac Terrace? Not that often.
Have you gone to the roundabout in the morning time, at 7 a.m., 7:30? Because that roundabout
No,
backs
yeah.
all the way up. And in
No,
fact,
I
they come
agree,
down
and
Lake and
I-
Highland.
I have to
Different
say
customers.
though, the school has got things in place that they're working on right now. That in all whole 30 years I've been here, I've never seen them work so hard on that project. And they are putting money into it. And we did get with the county to do turning lanes there, and they're listening real hard right now. So, I do think we have the cooperation of the school helping with the problem at this point, because they recognize it is a problem.
And
they're
the
stepping
county is
up.
going to work on us to get turning lanes in Montverde Academy.
Wait a minute, can you speak in this? They can't hear you.
I say the county, Mr. Parks and I and Barker met with Jennifer Barker at the county, and they're going to work with the town over the next 12 months to get traffic lanes, basically reimburse the town to put those traffic lanes in. We're looking at Academy Lane, possibly their private drive.
Did you
going
say
in there.
traffic lights?
Traffic,
No,
turn
turn
lanes.
lanes.
Okay,
Turn
thank
lanes.
you.
Turn
Turn lanes.
Traffic lights.
Which will drastically, that really should help a lot of the movement going through there.
Yeah.
Then I think next school semester, the schools also, while they're doing that building, they're gonna move their lower kids to one side, so they're not crossing the street as often, then their drop-off's gonna move over there, so that's gonna also increase flow. So Really, I think in the next 18 months or so, you're going to see some pretty drastic improvements along 7th Street. 'Cause,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They really made an effort because they're going to come down the hill and past the auditorium, and the little kids are going to make a right, and they're going to go behind the buildings and get out, and then go out to Porter and make a left and go up to 455 and make a left. That's going to take 100 cars off the road pretty quick. I'm just, you guys can talk about it if you want. I mean, huh? But, no, we're talking about the traffic from the school, the traffic and what's going on.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting, the justification for the county to help fund turn lanes that will help the traffic along 455 is because of the development and growth. So without it, they can't do it because it's impact fees. So they have to have impact fees to do it. So it's kind of a catch-22 there, where you kind of, it'll greatly improve what's going on there, and without it, you can't get the improvements that are there. So give or take.
And I do apologize. I'm thinking of the children. I apologize if I was out of line talking about the school. So, thank you.
No, the traffic's an honest subject we need to talk about. But, all right. Anybody else? Okay, open it up to the public. Okay, we know. No, I'm kidding. Come on up.
Eric Stolniker, 17531 8th Street. Obviously, being on 8th Street, I have a personal connection to the traffic and the study that was done. Mr. Mayor, you say that you're thinking of Magnolia Terrace and how traffic doesn't really impact there, but you're not thinking that those are roads that directly go right into the subdivision. There is no neighborhoods prior to the subdivision like there is right now with this. So as being a resident on 8th Street or 9th Street or even some of the other ones down on the other side, I think there is a very big concern as far as what kind of traffic's coming through there, and how is that greatly going to impact the road, which is, I don't think, designed for close to 300 cars that might be coming up and down those roads. The speed limits that already are being violated, you know, weekly, daily, however you want to look at it. So those are some of the things that I think need to be focused on. I know we're focusing on the development itself, but there is a space in between that development and 455 that needs to be addressed as well.
And you're saying the roads need to be improved?
Well, I mean, there's no curbs, there's no sidewalks, so, you know, you have a property line that pretty much goes right up to the street for those who are existing right there now. I don't know how that's deemed as far as the amount of traffic that goes through there, but I think that's something that needs to be thought about and talked about.
No, we did. This is like our 28th.
I understand that, yes, sir.
You know, I mean, Paul, jump in if you want. We're looking at improving the roads, building the sidewalk, and probably in helping with some water flow that we need to do in there too. So we did talk about the roads. It's Temple, 8th, and 9th Street. Those are the three roads.
Right.
And we broke down, you know, how many we think are going to come off of Temple, and then they get on on Lake Street, which is also going to be widened with another grant, and bring us up to 455 on the 90-degree angle. And then you got 8th Street and 9th Street bringing the cars this way. So you have to sit there and go, okay, well, how many of those cars are going to make a right at that?
Right, which is hard to guess. I understand that.
You know, so if the best you can do is say 50-50, just to be, you know, make it level. And it's just, it didn't add up to that much. I wanted it to, but I couldn't get there. That's why I keep saying I don't see it. Join in. Anybody else, join in. I'm happy to talk about it. I understand, you know, roads aren't wide enough and all. I have properties on Temple, and the road's narrow, and we want to make it. It's not that the road can't handle it. We got to make it safer.
Yeah,
the road needs to be safer.
I'd like my kids to know that they can still play basketball in the driveway.
Yeah, we want curbs.
Not have to worry about somebody coming down at 50 miles an hour.
No, and believe me, we had a problem on Temple, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and we put bumps all the way down it. And it was a pain in the butt for the residents that lived there that didn't want to deal with it, but it was that bad, and we had FHP sitting on the sides.
Right.
You know, and we got slowed down, and then finally the problem moved away. So we were able to take the bumps back out. But
Well, that's the other issue is they're not going to move away when there's 139 different
no,
houses
but
in
the,
there.
the bumps would stay
It's
in
not
there.
going to be as
then.
easy.
If we had to put them in,
Right.
then they stay. But all I'm saying is that the city didn't do nothing. We actually
Right, okay.
did something, and we wouldn't let that happen to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
And council, just a reminder for those improvements, for the safety and the concerns, the developer is going to kick in 1.65 million, which will take care of the sidewalk that's going to need to be there and the road. And I've mentioned the council, we already are working on a stormwater project in there. We can expand that stormwater project a little bit if you so choose. And then we can also basically put curb and gutter and storm system as a part of that. So kind of take what the developer is giving, take what we have in free grant money, and make something really nice down 8th and 9th Street and Temple Street.
Come on up.
I'm Christy Anthony, 18850 Kirk Island Lane. I want to say first, it's a very fair compromise, but I want to make sure that on this 25 feet that I can, because I have 32 acres, I'm never going to have a problem of paving that road or doing anything with that, my part of the easement. Is that true? Because you're doing, what you're doing to it doesn't sound like it can do it.
I don't know what your easement agreement says, honestly. I've
Says-
never looked
well,
at your
it's 20
specific
it's
easement
20
agreement. Whatever you're allowed to do in your easement agreement, you'll be allowed to do. What we're doing is protecting the land that's around it, so no one will be driving down that road and bothering your use of
Right,
that road.
so I can
And I
still-
think that's fair to say, right?
Okay. Now, the second thing is, I understand all that. Now, do I have the right to put a gate at the end up at Taylor Graybill, or whatever they call it this week, up there? Because otherwise, do I call the sheriff's department every week to have somebody arrested? Now, how's that gonna work? Do I have any problem closing off that road if it's gonna be mainly mine?
Where we have it now?
Huh?
We have the gate now?
Not at Taylor Graybill, I don't, of course not. Because never had this problem.
Oh, he's saying, can he put a gate at the beginning of the
Right.
the road?
Sure. I will definitely work with the developer. I off the top of my head, I don't see a problem. They have been very receptive after the last meeting to working with us. They don't probably want a lot of calls for people going back there either and dealing with that headache. So I can't speak for them.
Well, can they come up in case I have to do a rebuttal?
It really is dependent on what's in your easement agreement. What the town is going to do will not affect whatever rights you have or whatever limitations you have under your written easement. Those still will govern.
What is a joint easement is what it is with them and us.
Right.
So it'll
That's
still
between
be,
you and them, and what we do won't affect that.
okay, okay. So can we find out why they're here still, if we can close that road off? I don't want to, but if I have to do it?
I mean, yeah, that's something you'll probably have to, what Anita's saying, we'll have to get with the developer and have that conversation with it,
we're
because
gonna-
I don't know what's in the
We're
easement.
gonna come back next month then? I mean, I want an answer.
But what we're doing is making sure the property owners can't do anything to affect that road back there. But
Okay, when can I get an answer?
Well,
I-
we just now getting that question to us. So
Okay.
we don't know yet. We don't want to tell you
I mean,
wrong.
is there some time in advance that I can say, hey, let's stop this because it's not what we decided, what I thought it was gonna be, or I just sort of out of luck because this is the last
Give me
hearing?
2 years.
Huh?
Give me a couple of years.
You won't even be here then. You'll be the governor or something, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
No, that's what I just want to get, is there any time in the future that I'm going to be able to say, hey, wait a minute?
Well, let Paul move it forward and get back to us.
Okay.
And he can call you or talk to you.
Okay, so if the answer is no, then where am I?
Well, we'll deal with it then.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we have time
I got a
ahead.
feeling the developer's more than happy to help us.
Okay, I just want to make sure so we don't have a problem when
Yeah.
they're gone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
But your biggest question is where you can put your gate.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
If
want
he
to.
needs
And
it.
if we don't have a problem, it's fine, but if we have, these crummy kids just like I was, they'll be speeding up and down there to make donuts and all, you know how.
Yeah, you could
I
just,
did that.
Yeah.
You know
could
these
just
kids.
put the, private road, everybody will be shot that comes in.
I gotta have a shotgun at the end. Okay, thank you. And thank you.
Come on up, man, Randy.
Randy Elman, 16603 Lowry Road in lovely Montverde, Florida. First off, who put this on the agenda, the PUD discussion?
I guess
That's a question.
Dunner's,
Yeah.
it's the item on the
Yeah,
agenda.
right here, number 6, discussion and action items, Truscott Park, and then B is Montverde PUG zoning.
Correct. Yes, I did.
Okay. Seems like a setup to me. Seems like we were set up on that, discussing PUDs, how good they are, how, they, it's so beneficial. We had all that discussion before we even got to the real meat of what we're talking about tonight, this ordinance to allow the PUD.
I could agree, but I didn't say anything.
Okay. Well,
But I will say the reason is why it was a discussion at the last council meeting. There was questions about it.
Oh, yeah, the
And
last meeting, yeah.
At the last meeting.
Last
I
meeting,
got
remember I
brought up,
asked them
so
what's the advantage to them, and then I asked
that's
Sean
kinda
what's
my
the
job as
advantage.
manager
Well,
to report back.
Okay, and that makes sense.
I'll speak to all the council now, and especially Alan. I've dealt with PUDs for 40 years working for contractors. And, it's always for the developer, and especially in the end, when the homeowners get in there, they go, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Well, it's a PUD.
Well, it's buyer beware. We had that discussion.
Well, that is really
Right.
short-sighted
No,
and
it's
narrow-minded
not.
thinking,
No,
buyer
no,
beware.
No, it's not. Willow Ridge, same way. They sold out. Why'd they sell out? People wanted to live there.
So
They had a choice.
buyer beware. That's a Christian statement, buyer beware.
I think it is.
Okay.
Just like your statement is, it's not. Why is it not we didn't.
These
bring
are
buyer beware.
future Montverde residents.
Aren't we taking care of them in the PUD?
No.
What? How?
No, you're not. I had a
Explain.
discussion with some staff members, I won't name any, but, I brought up the fact that, they might contact me and say, I want to put a pool in. These are future residents that are on these lots.
Okay.
And they agreed with me that, yeah, you might not be able to do anything to your property there because of the impervious, because of the, setbacks or whatever. I've dealt with this before. In other words, they want to put a screen room on their property. You can't do it because of the PUD. And I think Joe could attest to some people in Willow Ridge that, they're having issues that, because of the PUD, you can't do this, you can't do that. So all I can speak to is my personal experience, which I know you can appreciate that.
Right, I do, and I have my personal experience. Do you appreciate mine?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. We
Okay.
agree on that.
Yeah. But all I can say is, that I've never seen it to help the residents or the residents of Montverde or the future residents of Montverde that are going to buy these houses. It always benefits the developer because one reason, why don't they just go with our zoning laws and put a nice subdivision there like Mac Terrace? Why don't they just go along with that? And then you still have to approve it.
There's disadvantages to that.
Okay, there's always
Right.
pluses and minuses to everything.
Right. So you want 222 homes?
I'm just,
No, wait a minute. You
I'm
said
just-
R1L, 222 homes. So you say we want 222 homes instead of 138? You want a 62%
so
increase?
you want
62% increase.
You want
correct?
two houses sharing a septic tank. You don't think that's going to be a problem once they're gone? Two houses sharing a septic tank, and then
No, it's not my problem because the state approved it.
here
right?
we go
Did-
again.
No, wait
It's
a minute.
not my problem.
So
Aren't
I'm
you
supposed-
your brother's keeper?
Aren't you not? So we render under Caesar, correct? Render under Caesar. DEP says this is approved. So that's the law.
Alan, I'm sorry.
I'm
you're
sorry, I
not
agree,
going to you're not going to
disagree.
change my mind about
Okay.
buyer beware because that's just not the way to do it.
No,
We
and
need-
that's good, Manny, that's,
Okay.
we understand.
All right. Couple things, and I'll give someone else a chance. Impervious, we went over that. Okay, here's for you, Joe. I know that you are, you know, you like to really be stringent on granting variances. And I probably am that way too, unless you can show a hardship, a unique situation. And we went over that in the last meeting, the things to consider variances. Now with this new plan, are they still going to have to be granted 13 variances?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I need those explained to me. So if you're here, you're going to hear them.
Well, I'm just saying, if you grant 13 variances, then Katie, bar the doors, anything goes in this town. You set a precedent.
I honestly, I'm still not even clear on the variances.
Yeah.
So I haven't got to that far yet.
Yeah, but my point is that, you know, we don't want Joe couldn't put his shed here, there, everywhere, or he had to paint it the thing. But if we grant 13 variances to this developer, well then, you know, I want to put a condo on my property. Well, you set a precedence in granting 13 variances, you know, so why can't I put a condo on there?
You know, I don't like variances.
I know, that's my point, you know, but now we're going to grant 13? Is that right, Anita? I think you said
Well,
that.
I don't know, it's 12 or 13, yeah, something like that. 12?
They're called waivers.
Oh,
Okay,
waivers,
a
okay,
fancy
not
name
variances.
for variances?
Well, a variance is from the traditional zoning code.
Yeah.
The waiver is from the variance is a variance from the standard zoning code. The waivers is the term used for waiving portions of the subdivision criteria.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they just put a regular subdivision in here, and like Mac Terrace, Alan? Why wouldn't we? And you're still going to have to approve that and everything.
That's just it. We have to approve everything, okay? You're talking about that you're ahead so far of the cart's ahead of the horse. They still have to come back for their final development
Are you
agreement.
comfortable with the 2 septic tanks, or 1 septic tank for 2 houses?
I am.
Just because the DEP said so?
Well, isn't that who we're supposed
Does
to
it
go
make
by?
sense?
It sure does. This is the new system.
Wow. Okay.
If this is the new system that the state of Florida and DEP.
I've dealt
and
with
all
the
regu- Oh, right. I have too, probably more
Yeah, I
so
know.
than you have in agriculture. We've been shoved down our throat regulations that homeowners have never even thought of.
You're preaching to the
Water
choir
management.
here, Alan.
Okay.
I've dealt with the DEP
So,
and the EPA.
If they say that's what it is, then that's what it is. We don't have a Doge in the state of Florida and the federal government.
Well, I
that
wish
says
we did.
They
Okay,
could take
come on, guys.
control, but we don't.
We're not being
Okay,
very
I know.
productive.
Okay.
Let's keep it
Just
straight.
consider, you know.
Okay.
This is my issue with it.
Thank you very much.
Jim Lay's spirit lives through you.
What?
I said Jim Lay's spirit lives through you.
Well, this is his seat,
Come on.
wasn't it? I mean,
Matthew Bauman, 1122 Imperial Eagle Street, Groveland, Florida. I did have a question about the waiver too, specifically about the retaining walls. If I did not get a chance to read the specific ordinance that's on the agenda tonight, has that been addressed as far as the height requirements?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
The waivers for the retention walls they were planning to build? There
For
was
the
there was a
road?
waiver from the height requirement.
For the road?
Or maximum.
I'm not, for what wall?
Retention walls
Oh,
on the property.
Correct. The lots, they're requesting a waiver. Let's go find the right one here. Yeah, let's see if I can find the. So again, those highlighted lots, they're, because of site conditions there is an extreme grade issue going on there. And so they do want, and also with the road back there, they want a waiver above the 60 inches for a higher retaining wall versus doing a multiple stair step type wall, mainly for maintenance. So the wall will have to be engineered, approved by the town's engineer, then built and inspected to Florida Building Code.
And they'll be required to put a fence at the top to prevent
They'll
fall
be
risk?
required to put a 6-foot fence, Sean, is that what the code says? I think it's a 6, yeah. But yes, to answer your question, I have to put a fence rail across the top.
Okay.
Whatever the building code says.
All right. I was just checking, because in the other city, I've had to deal with some things that were built that no fence was installed upon, so.
Yeah, we require a fence on any wall that height.
Okay. My other issue is one that I brought up at the last meeting as far as the lot widths. As far as my understanding, this is supposed to be low density. I do have medium density in the town, and my lot width requirement is 90 feet, not 60, 70, 80, or less than 90. So I also think that would be out of character with fitting into the abutting neighborhoods, most of which, as far as I'm aware, are much more than the minimum lot width requirements on here, so, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else?
Good evening, Council. Mike Whitten, 17635 Broad Street. I've got a different way of looking at everything. I want to know what environmental standards are being upheld. We talked about 17 gopher turtle burrows out there on the Sketcher property. We got 111 acres here. How many gopher burrows do we have there? Have y'all done a survey? How many do we have?
0.
Huh?
0, I believe.
I think you're going to be wrong there. It's going to take a state biologist to go out there and check this stuff out. Another problem right there, I'm blessed where I live. I get to sit there and look at bald eagles in the evening. They come down here from November until about March or April. Then they leave and head back up north. Well, we've got a breeding set of eagles right down from this property right here. What are you going to do when you start building to where you don't scare these eagles off? Are you going to stop building right there? Because they won't nest if there's a lot of construction going on.
There's a code to that.
There is. But I'm just bringing stuff up. I'm all for the project that you're doing. But I want to know what's going to be done to protect these eagles right here. Just 1 week ago, I had 2 eagles right across the street from me sitting in a tree. And then looking right down there from the boat ramp, there's 2 more eagles right there sitting on your property on the tree right down from the boat ramp. I guarantee you start building there, and you're probably going to cut that tree down. You know, what's going to happen with these eagles? That's our national symbol right there. So I'm just saying I want some assurances, you know, that I'm no tree hugger by any means. I love to hunt and fish. But, you know, I want to know that this property should have never been developed. The state should have bought it. This should have been forever property on this lake right here. But we're past that, you know. So now I want some assurances from the developer, from the council, county, state, and everybody else. What are we going to do to protect this wildlife? Thank you.
There's laws on the books about the eagles.
Alrighty. Anybody else? Ladies first.
Nancy Joe Davidson, 17520 Palmview Avenue. First off, those eagles won't be here with all those houses on the front. There used to be those that were a little further down by Montverde Academy on that wet piece that had the fence. Y'all know where that is. And the eagles aren't there anymore. We see very few flying over. We used to see them all the time. Also, you talk about the vehicles coming in and out, and all you've talked about is the residential vehicles. I live on one of those little streets that comes out a little ways and then hits 455. I would probably say there is 20, 25 vehicles between the garbage truck, all the delivery trucks, some of them 2 and 3 times a day, some of them at 7 o'clock in the morning, some of them as late as midnight. They're all in and out, in and out, in and out, and you're going to have all those going through. Where are you, sir? Where's the guy that has a house on the road going in? Did he leave? There you are. There. That's what's going to happen. You say, oh, we're going to have sidewalks and everything else, and yeah, you are. You'll have to. But there again, there goes that area for the kids to grow up in a great small community, or what was once a great small community called Montverde. I see a lot of things that aren't Montverde now. It's very sad. It's very hard to handle. But the people on those streets, they won't know what we had. And it'll be forever gone. And y'all need to think about that for everybody. And the traffic is going to be a nightmare. We sit on our front porch every morning, my husband usually for an hour or so, drinking his coffee. He can tell you what the traffic is coming in and out of town at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and at 3:30, such in the afternoon. I'm right, aren't I? Absolutely. So there's a lot. I know the property's going to be developed. We're right. The county should have bought it, or the state, but they didn't. And I know people have a lot of money invested. I'm sorry y'all are going through this. But, you know, it's not much left here in Montverde now, including Mag Terrace took a lot. Mag Terrace talks about looking down on the roof of a shed. We didn't have to look at those when we were kids. I mean, we didn't have to look at Mag Terrace either, if you want to be honest about it. You know, there was beautiful things along there. Probably none of you ever thought about orange trees. Absolutely. Thought about a marijuana patch being grown in the orange grove where you live. And I was a dumb enough teenager not even to realize it was marijuana when I happened upon it doing horseback riding. But you might remember many years ago there was a little bitty article in the paper about a marijuana bed that was finally cut because it had been watched for years. It was like 9 years later. And they got them. But that was along your property. There wasn't a slope down to the lake there. It was a jump down. So when y'all are thinking about these things and people like this fella are talking about their kids being able to play, that was Montverde. That was Montverde. Mag Terrace isn't Montverde. I apologize, Mag Terrace, but I'm not sorry for saying it. But I think all of you need to remember Montverde as Montverde was sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Jim Peacock.
Yeah, Jim Peacock, 16549 Lowry Road. Paul, you had a graph up there with the setbacks. Could you
pull the mic up?
You had a graph up with the setbacks. Could you
pull it up? Yeah, there you go.
Street side setback, 10 foot, is that correct? That seems awful close.
That's what they're requesting, correct? I think that would, I'd have to look at the site plan. I think there's about 5 or 6 lots that may be relevant to.
Oh.
They're side, they're
Not a lot then.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of side yard setbacks.
Okay.
So just be wherever there are side yards.
Okay, I was just curious about that. That seemed very close, but if it's only a few, it's probably okay. One other question. Could somebody please explain in simple language the difference between the PUD and the zoning?
Straight
I've
zoning.
looked at many different explanations on the internet, and they're all different, and they're all very confusing, okay? I know you say one will simplify the other and all that, but could you explain to everyone exactly, could someone, what the differences are between the two, particularly and pertaining to this situation?
Well, Sean, can you do that real easy?
You want me to read it right out of your comprehensive plan?
Not really. If you could just explain it.
Well, I mean, it is the definition.
Yeah.
Explain it to me like I'm a first grader.
Okay, it's a PUD is a single-use plan unit development technique shall be used as a management strategy it's a management strategy for negotiating innovative development concepts, design amenities, and measures intended to encourage unique planning concepts not attainable with certainty under conventional zoning. So you get certainty, that's the key part of that. You would get certainty with the PUD versus something that may not be as certain with.
What would be an example?
Well, I mean, I'll go back, I'll just answer it to like what I said the last meeting. I don't know if you want to go to the open space. I mentioned this. There's a graphic that showed everything so that's something more certain that you're going to get. All that space that you're seeing is space that cannot be built on nobody could so much as put a shed on any of that property that you're seeing. That's highlighted, that's shaded. It's also going to be managed. It's a very unique concept in this development. Now, I'm just, whether you like it or not, it's just something that's different about this development, is it's going to be managed by an HOA, not like an HOA would typically manage their open space areas, but through a management plan that protects the water resources. So you won't have people applying chemicals and fertilizers or building sheds or putting pavers and stuff like that in those areas. So that's something that you're going to get that's more certain towards protection of water resources. Again, whether you're for or against it, that's just a sort of a pro. You asked me this last meeting. That's probably one that sticks out the most to me, other than also the addition of the space for the boat ramp as well, which would not necessarily be guaranteed with the straight zoning. So it's, you know, it's in your comp plan and they encourage it, you know, where possible, pretty much in most cases to try to use PUDs. The comp plan was written, by the way, well before, that was in there well before
Yeah.
I was even here, I
Long
think,
time.
living in Montverde, a long time. Yeah, so it's been in there, it's never been changed. So yeah, I hope that summarizes and answers the question.
Okay.
Did it?
No.
You want me to read it again?
Maybe answer the question, but it
I'll take a stab at it. So a straight zoning,
Yep.
so straight zoning in your code specifically says, these are the setbacks, this is the width of the lot, how much open space you have to have. It sets out the standards for the development. And every one with that zoning has to have that setback, all of those conditions of development. With a planned unit development, it's another type of zoning, but you can be creative in what the setbacks are, the building width, the open space requirements to an extent as to like where they're located, the protections that Sean mentioned for how those open spaces are managed. You can ask for things as the town from the developer that you would not get if they just did straight zoning. It's more of a negotiation as to how the project's going to be developed. Whereas straight zoning is specifically whatever's in your code. If they bring a plan forward that meets those conditions, they're entitled to approval.
Thank you, Anita. So, I guess then, let's go down that same road. In layman terms, what's the benefit, I guess, to the developer, I'm going to say, to go PUD versus R1? I mean, is there a benefit? Because, I mean, obviously, they've been through a lot to come to a PUD. I'm sorry? It's like they've done a lot at this point to do a PUD. Is there a benefit, I mean, obviously to them, I'm assuming here that they're negotiating all these different things, correct? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I put my brain in the developer mindset, is you have the developer presented this plan, has a variation of lot sizes, has a variation of different features and amenities that he feels is going to increase his lot values. That's probably why he's doing it. On the reverse end, if he had to look at our standard guidelines, he would try to maximize the lots. And on this particular parcel, the best way to maximize the lots would be put in multiple cul-de-sacs everywhere. Because under R1L, if you have to have 100 foot at the building, but only 60 foot at the road. So I've seen subdivisions where they go through, you could put cul-de-sac after cul-de-sac down the road, then the town's gonna have more roads to maintain. That could be a strategy to take, not saying he would. And I think you've actually played with a couple things. You showed me that, you know, basically he's gonna get close to the same number of lots, somewhere within range, I would say. So it's just really the creativity where he gets to kind of develop how he thinks it's best going to sell, and we get to comment how we want to best protect our natural resources, our, you know, whatever that may be. You know, as we kind of go through the list, which is in your PUD. So I think those are kind of, you know, I'm not going to speak for the developer, but generally that's the thought process why PUD is advantageous, because it's a little bit of give and take on everything.
So let's go down that road with, you mentioned cul-de-sacs. Someone still has to want to buy the house. And if you're, I'm just thinking, and again, I'm sure we have realtors out here, but if you, I can't imagine that developer's gonna throw out there 10 cul-de-sacs. I know, I'm sure you've seen that, right? But I
I've
just
seen
don't
it.
see that being, they wanna maximize the value as well of the homes. So that would make no sense. And
Actually, sometimes cul-de-sacs do. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, again, it
cul-de-sacs
doesn't really, but
sometimes
we
get a
also have
little
subdivision
butcher.
guidelines in our town as well. And
Correct.
I know one of the benefits we've talked about, which is the boat ramp area. My opinion here is that I don't care. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't care about it. And I'm just being very blunt, because I know it's getting late. But that's a benefit to the developer. I mean, truly, that's a benefit to the developer to give that to us, because if they don't, the people that are coming here, once that boat ramp is done, I believe they're just gonna park right in front of all of their homes. That's what's gonna end up happening. And I'm good, guys. I'm good. You guys
I go back to this. Remember this? And I dug it out. And how old is this? 10, 15 years? 2016, 2017. No, it feels like 20. Okay, but here, this is the Neighborhood Standard and Guidelines Manual for New Subdivisions that we did in 2016 for down in Montverde. And it explains what our vision is at that time for the town of Montverde. And it really doesn't address whether it's a PUD or straight zoning. It goes into the housing and what we expect the house to have, and other things. It gives good definitions, which is good. And Sean puts it together, and then a few of us put it together with him, and then Oakland did it, and other cities started doing it, and it wound up being a good tool when it came time for everybody to understand what the vision was. Yet we really haven't even referred to this at all in this conversation. Does that make sense?
They would,
This is the next step?
yeah, this goes to the question you had asked earlier. They're asking for some waivers from that criteria. But
Right.
they are proposing to be consistent with everything in that, except for the 17 waivers. Is it 17?
12?
I'm sorry, I'm getting the number. I've been at meetings all day, so correct me on the number.
Okay. So that brings me to what I want to talk about, that we haven't talked about in our
12.
600 meetings.
Okay, I wasn't that
Is
far off.
the waivers.
Yeah.
What are we haven't gone through back-to-back, face-to-face with what the waivers are. So we keep getting stuck on straight zoning and PUD. I think if we go down the road a little bit with the waivers, who knows, that might kill the deal, that might make the deal better for PUD. I don't really know. So I was going to see if everybody's all okay with talking about the waivers at this point.
And
So
if
we
you remember, those were
understand
the
them.
waivers that we read into record 2 meetings ago.
I'm sorry?
Those were the waivers that we read into record.
Yeah, I'd like to review those.
2 months ago.
One at a time. Yeah, I'll let them up in a minute. I'd like to review those one at a time, so we have better definition and understanding of them. You guys okay with that? Alan, you okay with that?
You can go either way.
Okay. Go ahead and come on up here, Mr. Rubio, and go ahead and say what you want to say, and then we'll do the waivers.
All right, I'll make it quick. Brian Rubio, 16548 Magnolia Terrace. I did request the traffic study. It took about 20 days for me to get it, and that was because I followed up. It shouldn't have taken that long. But anyways, I did go through it, 74 pages, and there's a lot of boring stuff in there. But I want to highlight a few things and bring it to your attention. So I guess I'll start with the growth rate. They have a growth rate in there of 2.34, and the growth rate is obviously a traffic growth rate. But the stats that were used from the Department of Transportation were from 2019 and 2020. Those are the last 2 years of stats. Now, COVID happened in 2019, so I would say that those numbers are probably skewed. I mean, they
No, 2020, Kobe.
Well, either way, I mean,
Okay.
2019, 2020, there's nothing after 2020. So it's 4 years, 4 solid years of no new data. And so they use that. In addition, let's see, on the summary, which is, I think, the second page, it does say on there that the congestion lasts about 20 minutes. Well, I should say the Montverde Academy traffic congestion during peak hours, 20 minutes, about 20 minutes, approximately 20 minutes. They didn't detail out how they got that 20 minutes. Like, did somebody stand out there? Somebody eyeball it? Like, what? How did they arrive at 20 minutes? I kind of disagree with the 20 minutes. Something else the traffic study didn't take under account is the events, both from MVA and the town. Nothing was talked about. I didn't see any adjustments in regards to those things on there. I think it was appendix, if I recall, it's either F or G. But it did show on there the national averages that they used, right? So, and it specifically says in there, the averages are from 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, and 2010 from Arizona, California, Montana, Massachusetts. None of those are Florida. So, why they're using that, why they include that into the traffic study, I don't know. They're obviously outdated and just, I think, irrelevant. Last but not least, I took a deeper dive as to who, I guess, was in charge of producing the report, Vasu, Perswad, and I did look into him. I went down the rabbit hole. And I want to bring this up, obviously, for a reason. You'll see here in a second. So he is an engineer. He's been an engineer for a long time, but he's also a developer. He's also a shareholder in a few companies that develop PUDs. I think he's done several traffic trend reports, and the pattern seems the same based on some of the articles that I came across from Fruitland. I think it was Fruitland Park or Lakeland, I can't remember, where he downplayed it. He downplayed the traffic effect. And, obviously here's the pattern with my findings that I think there's a bias there. So I guess to sum it up, do I feel good about this traffic study? No. 74 pages, if the county went through it, obviously they're going to look for things that are just completely out of the norm, which nothing really screamed out of the norm, but nobody also took a look at the actual data itself and how valid it is. So that's my concern. I wanted to bring that up to your attention. If you want, I could obviously provide, all the research and links and articles if you wish. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you very much. Are you guys comfortable talking about the variant waivers? Oh, sure, I'm sorry, I missed you. Didn't see it.
Rebecca Davidson, 17730 Neal Drive. Just a couple of things. One is, when they first were showing these plans, they were showing where their sewage was in their area, and now it's coming onto our area. And why are we having to have the beauty of having that where we're at? And the other question was on the roads where they're coming out. So, of course, there's always that easement that the town owns. And so when they go back that far, is there going to be another easement on top of that? Like, say you widen the road and you went all the way to their, now, is that their land, or you guys take another 5 feet and say this is now the easement of the town?
No, we don't do that, right, Anita?
I'm not following the question.
She's saying that, like on Temple Street, let's say,
Any of them?
there's an easement.
Oh, the town
On
right
your
away?
ground.
Right away.
Yeah, so the town's right away, whatever is the
Right,
platted
okay.
width, that's what will be improved.
Right.
We can't go beyond that, and it won't affect the boundary lines of the property
Okay.
owners.
Right.
All right.
We're not going to put another easement on your property.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
No. Yes, sir.
George Gainsamella, 17740 Neal Drive. I noticed that there's that thing, she's talking about the dumping the sewage here. Why is there a green stripe right through there? And again, all that sewerage that's coming from those houses is going to be in our front lawns. I mean, you can't turn a pipe around and stick it into the green space? Why is it coming out onto Neal Drive? Item one. Item two, they were talking about the eagles. Sunday, me and my wife watched a beautiful panther walk the whole length of the grove, back and forth. So it's still a lot of wildlife in there, and that people want to keep it. But I'd like to know why they're bringing their sewage out to our front lawn. I mean, they have all those open spaces. Why don't we fertilize them instead of our houses? You know, you got people living there. Give us some thought.
All righty. Oh, we got another one? Come on up.
J.M. Oliveri, 17 Sioux Sevens, Sugar Pine Way. So just to add with the gopher tortoises, so just to make sure you all understand what's so important and significant about them is that they are a keystone species which are responsible for the survival of other species in our ecosystem. And they have been sighted in that area because I see them from the road. So there's no question that they're not crossing that line to go north of that road because I do live over that way. Previously when we had a discussion about the proposed sewer, there was a whole big discussion about preserving Lake Apopka and all of the things that go into the future mystery number that we're going to have to meet to improve that water, and how it was impacted by fertilizers and things like that, which we're going to see a lot of right here on the shore of the lake in this development. I haven't heard anything mentioned about that and how that's going to do the exact opposite of our goal to fix the lake and how the impact that that's going to be. I've seen no study, no information, not even a mention of that being an issue. It's a big issue. With all the development, there's always the risk of sinkholes. We've seen a number of those in the areas surrounding the town happening in more recent weeks. Those are concerns. I know we're going to get to the waivers in a little bit, so I'm not going to mention that at this moment. And this kind of development is going to bring a lot of noise. That wasn't mentioned either. There are houses on all these sides, and I happen to have ties to two different sides from my family, so we're going to be impacted all around for that. So is all these other fine residents as well. And one final comment on the mayor's thoughts regarding the traffic. Are you or have you at any point been a certified traffic assessor? I didn't think so. Friend of Dionne Warwick? No? No psychic. Okay. So then your guess is only just a guess. Not reliable, not relatable.
Well,
it's about as arbitrary as mine.
Well, here you go.
So there you go.
My opinion is 20% of this vote. Actually, it's more. It's 25% right now.
But the information that was submitted and analyzed,
well, there it goes. My opinion
being inaccurate,
something.
and the proposal or the thought of having an accurate study done in our best interest, that's something.
I like my experience better than I like any report.
And that's your opinion.
I've been standing around here for 30 years.
Perhaps it's done.
All right, this is fun. All right, let's talk about the waivers. So we can get a little, just real quick, an hour or two.
Yeah, Sean, do you just want to? Why don't you go through and say what the waivers are, and just summarize what the
we'll read them.
summarize what they're given in exchange for those waivers.
All right, we're not going to read them. We're just going to list them. Okay, how's that?
What page is that on?
Page starts on page 9.
Wait a minute.
Section 3, page 9.
Oh, okay. Let me get there. Section 3, page 9.
The whole thing or stop right here?
Just read the waivers without the grant.
Okay. The first waiver is from section VB Housing Model Style Variety. No street block should have more than 2 consecutive single-family homes with the same house model.
Wait a minute, waiver, that's page 9,
Page 9, section 3, and that was number 1.
number 1, okay.
Then right below that in AB, that's what they're proposing to do instead. And I don't know, do you want Mr. Parks to read that too, or Lisa to read their proposal instead? Or just what the waivers are?
Okay. Right, I read all this, but
Well, so, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind,
I don't have that on there.
just, can you hold that book up again?
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what we're reading, so everybody's clear, is a waiver out of those. She's actually citing the code, section 5B. That's what it's right out of that code right there. She's reading the waiver forms,
Okay.
or the waiver request for each one of those.
This particular,
Yes, for this particular proposed development.
No more than two of the same model?
Yeah, so that one was, go ahead, because
I'll read it again. No street block should have more than 2 consecutive single-family homes with the same house model.
that's the code though, it's a proposed waiver.
Wait a minute, we can't be having conversations like that.
All right, so this is again for how you want to run the meeting, Mr. Mayor. Do you want us to list all 12 of those
Well,
waivers?
I don't know, does anybody have a problem with that waiver? The waiver is saying, well, you can read what it says on page 9 here.
I
You
think the
guys
question
understand the
is that
waiver?
what's the difference between the waiver versus, say, R1, or what that book is? That's like, what is the
No,
developer?
the waiver
Right.
is, those are rules.
Right.
Those are standards for new subdivisions. They also allow for somebody to request a waiver.
Right, so he's asking,
Yes.
what's the difference between what it says here and what
Right.
they're asking for?
So, yeah, the difference is the book says you can't put the same model home. So if you go in and you buy model number 113, you can't put that on the same block. And
Well, it says you can't put more than 2.
correct.
Consecutive.
And what the developer is saying, asking, because he has these long blocks, he wants a waiver from that. In exchange, he's going to do different finishes on those types of houses and different colors and different facades and things along the front. So
So they could all be the same home. Is that what it's saying? If
Well,
there's 20 homes, there could be 20 of the same models
Well, they have
with
to-
different facades.
Yeah, different style, different finishing, different colors, and they have to be non-monotonous.
Yeah.
So that's similar, we did do that in Willow Ridge, I think every 5 houses,
Yeah,
we
and I
allowed them
don't-
to do the same
I personally
model.
didn't.
Yeah.
When we're driving down Blackstone, you're looking on the right at the big houses that they build because they want 2 stories on the little lots. They all look alike in the back, all the way down.
Yeah,
there.
we did the waiver for the front, but not the back.
I'm looking at them going, how did that get by like that? That's
Well-
kind of why I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I never thought about looking at the back of the houses going down Blackstone. Until they're already built.
And obviously, as you go through these, you can decide which ones to approve and which ones to reject as a part of
Okay.
your clearance. So.
Okay, so that one, and that's, you guys aren't building houses, right? You guys are just having the house builder come in, so that makes your lots more attractive to them if they can do that, obviously. But, okay, so that's the first one.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, the second waiver is from section 5E, architectural standards, prohibited styles, modern, contemporary, or modern ranch garage-dominated style homes with garage doors that exceed 30% of the front street-facing facade.
I'm sorry, you went too fast for me. I'm on section 5, what was?
E,
B?
E as in Edward,
E, I'm sorry.
architectural standards.
Okay. Oops. I don't have an E.
Page 9.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
your book, in your
Oh, you're reading this
standards
book, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Right.
page 9, we're on number.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Mayor, it's not gonna be, it's in your staff report. I see you looking through the standards.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right, page 9?
9.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's on
page
page
9,
nine.
your
number
staff
2.
report.
You said section 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's section 5 out of that book.
That's where the waiver's coming from.
Yeah.
Where's section 5, though?
I think you're in the staff report.
Um,
Here's the
Oh, gotcha, okay.
And then just flip to page 9, and so we just did one.
See, I told you I need help.
Yeah, he was already on it.
You were on it, yeah. We're just saying, what we're saying is it's section 5E out of that book right there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Section 5E. What page is section 5E?
I don't have the book in front of me
Oh.
now, so
I'm gonna pull it up.
she's, yeah, Lisa's.
I don't see sections in the book.
I can go get some books if everybody wants some books. Y'all want some books?
Index in the back or anything?
I don't see section, oh, here's 1, 2. Okay, section 5. Definitions?
5E.
Yeah.
No, there's no numbers on them.
You want me
Am I missing something? Here's section 4. Okay. E. Okay.
I think it's page 11. Let me confirm that.
Page 13 in the book.
I guess, can you read that again, Lisa, out loud? So everybody else can, this is the code we have in place that they're asking for a waiver on.
Yeah, this is a waiver from section 5E, architectural standards, prohibited styles, modern, contemporary or modern ranch, garage-dominated style homes with garage doors that exceed 30% of the front street-facing facade.
So what they're asking for is to have more than 30% of the homes are allowed to have garages that face the street.
Correct.
Yeah, so do you want to read why it's being proposed to be granted with conditions?
Okay.
Because keep in mind, Mayor, as you pointed out on previous cases where this book has applied, namely Willow Ridge,
Mm-hmm.
that you were able to grant waivers, but with conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the benefit, obviously. of using the
No, I
criteria.
remember that, yeah.
So go ahead and read that, yeah.
So it's granted with the following conditions. Garages facing the street will not exceed 50% of the front elevation on the street-facing facade. This is proportionally well balanced with the accepted styles given in the Standards and Guidelines Manual, and that's in section 5E2, and are still relative to acceptable styles with front-loaded garages. And then B says, should a garage door exceed 30% of the front facade, pavers shall be used for the driveway and lead walk in lieu of poured concrete except for the driveway apron. And the last condition is all garage doors will be upgraded from standard 32 panel garage doors.
So we could be looking at a house that the garage door is more than, is 50% of the facade.
It won't
30.
exceed 50%. It's
But
not
it could be
permitted
50%. It won't exceed
It
it.
could be if they use the upgraded panels, but with pavers.
You understand that?
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to quick ask a question then, before we get too
Sure.
far ahead on the first waiver. Sorry, the first waiver, we had talked about putting the same house on the same block, and that would sort of rule out doing cul-de-sacs, wouldn't that? Because, I mean, you could basically do a cul-de-sac, but that's one block.
That's a block, yeah.
So there's one house in that then, right? It'd be one style home. Sorry, one style home.
Well, if you have 5, you would just do 5 different homes in a cul-de-sac, or
Right.
6 different homes in a
Right,
cul-de-sac.
yeah.
Or 2, you're allowed 2 of the same, I
Right.
guess. So yeah, you could do probably 3 models in a cul-de-sac kind of thing.
Okay. All right.
You're talking about the first question?
Yeah,
First
the
one?
first question.
one of the arguments was if we went R1 was cul-de-sacs, they could do cul-de-sacs, and I just wanted to.
Yeah, then I think what we ended up, because we had this discussion, if I recall, in Willow, and it seems like we made no house. Lisa, you probably know that within 5 homes be the same.
That's
They have to
right.
jump every 5 homes before they use the same model number. So, I mean, so you can choose anything between no and in between what they're proposing, obviously.
Right, and my mistake was that what I read and what's built didn't match in my mind in Willow Ridge. One, because we're looking at the back of the houses on Blackstill.
Correct.
Plus, I've been through there at least 30 times looking at the houses, and there's some issues that I wish I would have paid more attention to.
Yeah, they have 10 different models with all the same back garages, and, you know, that's something, yeah, I wish we would have caught that, so we need to probably emphasize that somewhere.
Yeah, like in this book, I know there's the garages that don't face the road. And is that one of the waivers here that we don't want to do that?
I think it is when you get down it, correct.
Hmm. Well, I guess let's keep reading the waivers so we can get through them.
Okay, waiver 3 is a waiver from the exterior finishes. Residential structures should support Montverde traditions and maintain a level of craft in the process of construction. Exterior finishes should be primarily hardy board, brick, rock, and masonry. Stucco is acceptable if consistent with an approved architectural style. Brick and stone veneer are prohibited. And this says, granted with the following condition, that cultured brick and stone veneer must be used. The veneer must have an average thickness of 2.5 inches when applied to the walls or columns, adding texture and shadow. The veneer must vary in pattern, style, and color to enhance the architectural style and paint scheme.
Hmm.
So that, just so you know, the veneer, that's the stone, is what we put on Town Hall here, but what you see in Mac Terrace and about half the subdivisions in town, so we thought that one was reasonable from a staff level for sure.
I'm not following that. What's that mean, Sean?
It means you can use those different materials.
That's it?
Yeah, you can use stone material, like we have on the Town Hall here. You can use-
Well, which rule that it's, what's the rule in this book?
Yeah, so that's the waiver. What
Yeah, what I read about the exterior finishes should support Montverde traditions, that came right out of section E-D on page 21. The last paragraph on page 21.
Page 21? In this book?
Yes.
Page 21 is pictures.
Now, see the, yeah.
Oh.
We have 2 different versions.
It could be
we
because
did
they're
update it a while.
Yeah, there was a slight update which could throw a page off. You know.
How come we got new books?
Yeah, I think there was one update made a couple years ago that it wasn't much. It just changed it probably moved it over a page number. Yeah.
You what?
Page
Yeah.
22.
I don't remember ever getting a new updated book. Well, I got one.
I mean, when we
No,
say
it's all right. You
updates,
can have it.
they were probably quite literally just typos. There wasn't.
Well, you're not gonna be able to follow it. All right, okay.
Otherwise, you would have had this come before you as a change.
All right, so where are you reading it now? Section 3, A, B, C, and D?
Section E, 3D.
D, okay.
And this is one to prevent from having a bunch of homes look all stucco.
Okay, that one's fine with me. I don't know about you guys.
Ready
Want to
for
do 4? Yeah, please.
waiver 4 says no more than 50% of the lots in proposed subdivision, all phases are permitted to contain front-loaded garages. And the justification is alleys and alley-loaded garages are not practical nor feasible for the proposed lot configurations, and all lots have an average depth of over 250 feet. Front-loaded garages shall be allowed. And it says, granted with the following condition, the builder would provide side-loaded garages on 10% of the lots.
So what's that gonna be?
13 lots, so basically all the corner lots where you can put them on, he will put them on.
All right, so, do you guys all right with that? All right, if you
Number
would, please,
5.
number 5.
Garages must be a minimum 27 by 29 feet of interior size. And granted with the following condition, homes will feature standard 2-car garages, which will be a minimum of 20 by 20 feet.
Right, so, you guys okay with 20 by 20 garages?
Yeah. We talked about this, I think, in the past.
Hmm?
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Okay.
Okay, and the number 6 is in the staying connected section of walkable neighborhoods, traffic calming. Intersections along primary entry roads to neighborhoods of 10 or more homes must contain a traffic circle at the main entry point of the first intersection. Traffic circle size shall be determined by FDOT's Florida Green Book. And this says, granted with the following condition, proposed traffic calming measures will not necessarily be consistent with FDOT's Florida Green Book. Instead, appropriate traffic calming measures as illustrated on page 26 of the Standards and Guidelines Manual must be utilized. Complete streets design measures will be implemented and include canopy street trees to provide shaded sidewalks, speed control devices, and on-street parallel parking spaces where appropriate as determined by the town.
And the traffic calming measures as listed on page 26 of the standards and guidelines, that's a roundabout.
Yeah, traffic circle.
Traffic circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know technically there's a difference.
Well, you're gonna go round and round and round, so yeah, that's what it is. Traffic circle.
Page 26?
In this book, not your book. This is the old
Yours
book.
is 24.
Yeah.
Sorry. 23, 24.
This page.
Yeah, 23.
So in the diagram, is there roundabouts in that diagram?
It's not a roundabout, it's a circle something.
It's a circle,
Oh,
traffic circle.
Traffic circle.
What we discussed was using other traffic calming measures such as center island. Right, Sean, and correct me doing. Now we're talking about doing a. They're agreed to do like a center island, which was what we're talking on 455. Other type of measure to basically act similar to what the circle would do, is what they're proposing. It's not shown on that site plan because it's just a lot site plan. So that actually will come when you guys do your site plan review if this is granted.
right, but if we okay this, then we're okay this now.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah, so it does say they still have to have traffic calming measures in it.
Has nothing to do with later, we're okay in it now, if we okay it.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm just saying you'll actually see the physical
Uh-huh.
traffic calming measure to prove
Oh,
as
what
a
it
part of
takes-
the site plan. right
Gotcha,
down the road.
yeah.
That's where the detail.
I don't know, maybe I'm just tired, but can you explain that better to me? Anybody?
Can you explain, I'm sorry,
The traffic calming.
The
the
traffic-
reason why we do it?
No, like what are they gonna use?
They're gonna use this, they're gonna have like a center median that's raised that tends to slow traffic down.
Where?
Well, there are some cross sections, I think, that have been presented, right? Yeah.
To see it on this, but they're showing little specks on there, but basically my bad drawing is, center island looking things.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you have to go ahead and number 7. I don't even have a number 7. Hmm?
Yep, we go from.
We missed number
missed
7 here.
Probably number 8 should be 7.
Oh, okay.
So that means there's
I thought it was me.
11 waivers. And this is a waiver from the block length. Connectivity shall be promoted with short blocks, wide sidewalks, pathways, and a mix of uses within walking distance. There shall be a maximum block length of 500 feet and circumference of 1,300 feet. The applicant may vary this requirement by up to 25% provided site conditions or engineering considerations justify the variance. Justification is the required block length and circumference specifications are not feasible considering the existing site conditions and the proposed large lot, low-density master plan that mandates minimum half-acre lot sizes. The entire site is walkable with on-street canopy trees providing shaded sidewalks. And it says, granted with the following condition, the builder shall provide a 4-foot wide raised median which will be implemented throughout the development substantially similar to Exhibit C23 or as approved by the town engineer. This median will help calm traffic and provide safe crossing points for pedestrians, improving walkability while supporting the low-density character of the development.
That's okay. I'm okay with it. You guys okay with that? Okay.
Okay, waiver number 8, and this is from section 5H, the conservation criteria, landscaping canopy coverage requirements. All trees installed for canopy coverage in areas including residential lots, right-of-way, open space, and common areas must be native to Florida. This does not preclude the use of specimen fruit trees in appropriate areas. Canopy coverage utilizing palm trees must include palm species native to Florida. Trees that grow up to 30 feet should be planted at least 4 feet from any sidewalk. 30 to 50-foot trees should be planted at least 6 feet from any sidewalk, and trees that grow to over 50 feet should be planted at least 8 feet from any sidewalk, including fruit trees. The justification is 3 feet to 4 feet from sidewalks is standard practice in the industry, and 8 feet is deemed to be excessive and unnecessary. And this is granted with the following conditions. A, canopy trees must adhere to the native species requirements. And B, when canopy trees are planted closer than 8 feet to sidewalks, trails, and pavement, root barriers must be utilized to prevent damage. In no case shall a tree be planted less than 4 feet from a sidewalk, trail, or road.
The barrier now, what is that?
The root barriers it's a pretty standard landscaping technique now that when a tree's installed, it's like a woven fabric material, made of certain materials that deter the roots from proceeding growing towards the sidewalk or the asphalt road.
Like Mag Terrace?
Well, they did not use them in Mag Terrace.
Yeah. You had a lot of problems in Mag Terrace.
Yeah, that's why you have problems. And we were okay with that. Some of these guidelines, was a lot of discussion on this, you remember, in 2017, and it was no, it was very adamantly, it has to be at least 8 feet. We're okay with the 4 feet with the root barrier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys okay with that?
I actually want to go back one, if you don't mind.
Okay.
This is in reference to pedestrian and keeping pedestrians safe and everything.
Number 8, 7, or 8?
Number
I think it's number 8.
8,
It's
okay.
the number that was off. I think it was 8, right?
We're not doing 9 now, so it must
Yeah,
be
I know,
okay.
and I apologize.
go back one?
I want to go back one, yeah. So
Okay.
that's basically to keep their residents safe.
Block length, right?
Yeah, that's one that you said, it was about keeping the residents safe and everything, right?
Yes.
About walking and everything.
Correct.
All right, and I'm going to go back to the traffic study again. Their study doesn't account for increased risks to pedestrians or cyclists in our existing town. So we're going to keep these new residents great, nice and safe. However, our existing residents, we're not even going to think of them on a traffic study. I have an issue with it. I'm throwing it all out there. You know, I just want to be honest and upfront with everybody. To me, it's still, we have a safety issue, but I'm going to keep, you know, anyway, that's just my thoughts. Please keep going.
Sure. I will say the response is they're going to pay for the town to take care of that safety issue. I said that they're contributing the money to take care of those safety issues and do those improvements and sidewalk improvements on the road. Related to the traffic study, it was reviewed by the town's engineer, and they have that. And why there's a few little issues in the traffic study. They concur with whatever they follow what they were required to do under the code that we have.
You're welcome. Okay. If you would, the next one, please. Number 10.
This is a waiver from section H1F, landscaping, water conservation, consistent with the town's comprehensive plan for any proposed subdivision having more than 25 lots, non-potable sources for landscape irrigation must be provided. The justification is, as non-potable water sources are not available for this community, the developer may be using potable water for temporary irrigation systems to be utilized during the landscape establishment period.
So what's that mean?
So they're going to be using potable water temporarily for irrigation systems until a non-potable source is obtained, which I believe that Paul you addressed that at the last meeting, didn't you?
Yeah, we talked about they will work on to get water from Lake Apopka or contribute to our lower aquifer well if we move forward with that. There's going to be a time where working with St. John's, we don't know what that time limit is. They kind of move at their own pace. That he may, once you kind of disturb the dirt, he's going to have to establish some landscape or sod on it to keep from erosion. So if we're at a point where he's working on getting that reuse water and it's not quite there, this allows him to use the potable water for irrigation until we get to that point of getting there.
Free?
So it's temporary, basically.
But it's not free, right?
Oh no, he'll pay for it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They'll have a meter hook to pay for it, definitely.
All right, is everybody okay with that?
Could they do the same thing under R1? If it went to R1, they could do the same thing technically.
Well, I mean, under R1,
they would have to ask for a variance, I'm assuming, still under R1.
Well, I don't. We sell bulk water all the time for establishment. I sold it at Willow Ridge, so I guess the answer is yes, they can do it if there's not an irrigation source available at the time. So, if that makes sense.
It does. Think.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. I mean, a single homeowner can do it right now. So this is just subdivision criteria. So the thought is we're not going to let them get too far until they get an irrigation source in. But there's going to be that time they're going to be having to put the pipe under the ground. They're going to have to do grading, get the streets, but then they're going to need water to stabilize that ground while they're getting those pipes on the other section hooked in, kind of thing.
All right. Any more questions on number 10? All right. Okay, if you would, please, number 11.
Okay. And This is a waiver from the design standards, Article 3, hillside development. If a retaining wall is required, then the wall should be shown with the grading plan and design certified by a state registered engineer if over 36 inches in height. Walls over 60 inches shall not be allowed. Any wall 36 inches and over shall be installed with a decorative aluminum handrail as required by the Florida Building Code. Wood retaining walls are prohibited. The justification is the proposed development will require retaining wall heights greater than 60 inches due to the severe topography of the site. This will limit the use of tiered retaining walls to allow for easier maintenance and provide more usable yard space. And this says, granted with the following condition. Walls greater than 60 inches may be allowed, provided they are designed by a licensed engineer of the state of Florida. All retaining walls greater than 36 inches shall be submitted to the town for review and approval prior to construction. Approval shall not be unreasonably withheld.
Are you guys okay with that? Carol? Joe? Okay. All right. Now we're getting to the end here. 12.
Okay.
Thank you, please.
This is a waiver from Design Standards, Article 3, Hillside Development, Section 4-52C. Slopes steeper than 4-to-1 slopes will not be allowed. 5-to-1 is encouraged. And the justification is the proposed development will include areas within the development that are proposed to remain in its current state, and those areas may have existing slopes steeper than 4-to-1. Such areas may include lots containing stormwater ponds and/or swales requiring the use of slopes steeper than 4-to-1, or areas along the shoreline of Lake Apopka, or wetlands to retain conditions as similar as possible to existing conditions. And it says, granted with the following conditions. A, approval by the town's engineer during the construction plan review process will be necessary to deviate from town's code relating to slopes, and such approval will not be unreasonably withheld. And B, lots that are adjacent to or include developer-constructed retaining walls, including but not limited to lots along the western portion of the property, must provide for an easement in favor of the HOA for maintenance purposes in perpetuity, and also prohibit improvements other than landscaping which is allowed within any portions of those lots inaccessible to the lot owner due to the retaining wall. Portions of lots inaccessible to the lot owner due to the retaining wall shall remain in an unimproved natural state or be landscaped and must be maintained by the HOA.
That one's easy to follow. Is everybody okay with it?
My opinion, again, this is land that they bought, now we're making all these variances for this. If we went R1, we wouldn't have to prove this one. They can build around this.
Yeah, wouldn't be that easy.
You still have the back road back through there.
Because of that road, they probably would be in the same scenario, I think, honestly. I mean, their lots may be a little different configuration, but, you know, it is a huge slope down there. And really, they can't, because of that easement, they're kind of restricted what they could do. So even under, if each lot came and asked for a variance, you know, there would actually be, I think, and John could time in, I think there'd be justification under our variance code to grant it, because there is an exception, something that's natural, that's not created by their own, et cetera, et cetera.
I guess, we just went through that one, so I agree with that. Okay,
All right, well, that's all the waivers, right?
Yeah, and then after that, we listed 8 more conditions that would be adhered to with approval of the waivers requested.
So this is more additional requirements, because they're asking for these waivers. We're, again, negotiating and said, we want these things too. So you're clear. Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, but these aren't things that are going against the rule book, right? These are just things you're asking for.
These are in addition to, like the first one, we're asking for the interpretive kiosks.
aren't waivers, these are just things that,
These are
additional things that
additional-
we've asked for.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to read them,
Yeah.
but, because they're not waivers, but,
The kiosk,
Yeah, those, I think, you know, just,
recreational facilities.
again, as you're weighing this out, don't envy you in this, but those are things that through the PUD process would probably be, could be also
Mhm.
in addition.
Okay, well, I'm glad we put all the waivers out front here so everybody can hear them and ask questions, including myself. So, do you wanna, what would you suggest, Anita, to move forward?
Give the applicant an opportunity to present anything that they may want to present before you have further discussion.
Okay, would you like to present anything?
Mayor and Council, good evening. I'm Brian Kanan. Yell if you can't hear me back there, because I had that problem last time. My address is, I'm with Kimberly Horn, and the address is 200 South Orange, downtown Orlando. There's a lot going on here tonight, but I thought I'd focus on a couple of things that I think are important for us to sort of get in perspective. One is, should we go conventional zoning? Ironically, and Commissioner Parks is an urban planner, and I am too, and Paul's very much up on this stuff. The irony is these ADUs that I as a planner think are definitely going to get approved, and I'd like to hear if the Commissioner disagrees. Ironically, what would happen if we went conventional zoning, and let's say instead of 189 units, let's say we dropped to 150.
Wait, now, we're talking 130 something.
Well, or something like that.
Okay.
You can double that number of how many units you'd have in this project. That's what would happen potentially. So we want to. I don't think that's a big advantage to you. The other thing about the conventional zoning is you lose all kinds of wonderful things that we're proposing that I think are compatible with what the town wants. What's top of my mind is that a proportional fair share right on managing the transportation impacts is about $130,000, and we've now upped that to 1.63 million. That's got to make sense for all of us, I think. We get a project to go forward, and the town gets a huge benefit to fix one of the problems that's not really caused by us, that's been there for a long time and gets fixed. So those are some of the things that are top of my mind. But I'll be happy to answer any questions specifically of any of the things that have been discussed so far.
No, I just wanted to get through the waivers myself. You guys have anything?
I'd actually like to understand the financial aspect of that, the 1.63 million. I'd like to understand how that is going to get paid to us and when that gets paid to us.
Yeah, that's a
and
good
phases,
question.
or how that works. Like, is it?
Paul, you can be happy to answer that, I'm sure. It's paid in 3 phases, basically.
Yeah, and I'll summarize. Anita will. Do you have the actual page, Anita? Let me have Anita just read it out of the PUD ordinance.
So it's on page 5. It has the first payment, so there'll be 3 equal installments of $500,000 each. The impact fees will get paid when they pull a building permit. But the remaining of the 1.5 million is paid in 3 equal installments. The first is due upon approval of construction plans. The second is due at final plat approval, and the third is due with issuance of the first certificate of occupancy.
Okay, so the first house is essentially would all at that point all funds would be to us. At that point. Okay.
So that $1.6 million is going to help us with the safety of the roads.
Yes, sir. I think it's to everybody's benefit. We benefit, the town benefits.
Okay, well, we already went through the public, so what do you guys want to talk about?
Mr. Mayor, just a real quick too, I know some of the environmental questions that were brought up. If you'd like, we can, if this moved forward, what you would do is you'd ask them to present copies of the go for tortoise permits, relocation permits, which they would do, having done actual relocations myself many years ago.
They have to do that no matter what.
They have to do it, but they have to wait, so they're not gonna give you an exact number now because they have to do that they can only do it within a 90-day window of actually
Right.
turning dirt.
Right.
So there are some out there, they're absolutely right.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The bald eagle monitoring, which, you could ask for, you could require them to present those reports to you as well.
And staff will have those, that'll be a part of our review process, so we do have those.
But that's the next phase, isn't it?
Yeah, that will be when they go to construction, within 90 days of construction usually.
Yeah, doesn't the state come in for the turtles? We don't even do it. The state does it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the fire station example, they had to do a tortoise survey, and they had to do a skink test. Then they usually do a general environmental, whatever impacts would be.
Yeah.
That report's put together, then.
We went through that with Whittle Ridge.
Yeah. We're actually
Yeah.
got a couple coming ourselves that we're doing.
I don't know. I'm not worried about that myself. And I personally was the one that recommended to deny that thing the last meeting. That's why I wanted to be fair and go through this front to back, including the waivers, so everybody could listen to them and talk about it. And our biggest issue was the safety of the roads, and the developer has stepped up with making us an offer to pay for what it's going to cost us to make the roads safe. So with curbing, sidewalks, paving, widen, that's all been going to get paid for. So I don't know what to say at the moment. You guys got anything? Well,
I still have the issue with the safety. That's just me personally. I get it that that particular area is going to be taken care of. I still don't think that our existing residents further out in the town, due to all of that traffic that's going to come in, are going to be safe. I just pray that we do not have an accident with children at school.
The alternative is to deny the PUD, and we're still going to build it.
Right.
And then we don't have $1.6 million to fix the 3 roads. It kind of hurts.
My main concern is obviously pending legislature. That is actually one of the things that's in the back of my mind. That is truly something that does bother me. Put it nicely.
Right, now we're going to be adjusting our transportation impact fee in the very near future. And we've already talked about it, and I think Anita's been involved in it, that our impact fee is very, very low compared to everybody else's, and we're looking at $5,000 a house. That's $700,000. So this $700,000 is a big chunk of the roads too that we're going to be using. So I'm not really afraid of that part. It is frightening, but we're still going to have a lot of money if something happens. What do you guys think? Well, much to my surprise, I'm going to make a motion to approve the PUD. Believe me, that's much to my surprise.
Second.
Okay, so let's do a roll call vote, please.
While she's setting up for the roll call vote, just to point out, just to give you guys, because you don't have the information that was presented from the fire department. Yes, thank you very much, from the fire department. And it basically gives a breakdown of the various calls that they've had here. When it comes to traffic, collision, and transportation, in the month of December, they had 4 calls. in the month of January, there were 3. In the month of February, there were 7. So we don't have a lot when you compare us to, Claremont, Mineola, obviously. But I do think that we can expect those to go up. In terms of traffic, myself, I think Osgood property aside right now, our biggest issue is flow-through traffic. When, in my own opinion, when they closed the bridge down there at 455 headed to Publix and they diverted they just found the best secret ever to get off of Highway 50 to Highway 27. And you can watch them, 455 Ridgewood down and they're gone. Passing through the same way, coming and going, peak time, peak travel time. So it doesn't matter which way we go with this property. We're gonna, when that bridge finishes at Fosgate, again, it is a shortcut for everybody who doesn't live here in town. We're gonna like it because it's easy to get to Claremont, it's easy to get to Publix, but you're gonna hate the flow-through traffic.
I don't see how it's gonna be a shortcut. There's still only so many people live on this side of the turnpike, and we're the ones that are gonna be going over there and coming back. Now we're gonna have 3 ways to go instead of 2.
Which is great for us here in town.
But who's gonna come this way for a shortcut? Where are you going?
All the people that
If
go
you
down
come
to, all the people that go to the academy. All the people that go to the
But
academy.
they're
they
coming
go
on
down
2 roads now.
Yeah, but all those people that are going 455, they're going to come, because that's the direct, it's just gonna be faster for them. Ridgewood, and I guess, I know you're about to do the roll call, but I'm gonna, like, if this is going to pass, I hope all of us are ready to roll our sleeves up, because we are gonna have some traffic issues, and we are going to have to address that. I mean, no matter what, and
But
no matter
whether
what,
this is, whether this is
No,
straight zoning or. we're gonna
correct,
have-
absolutely, I'm just saying that we have some serious work ahead of us with traffic, because
Yeah.
of, that opening up and everything else.
We might have to double our budget on FHP and slow them down, which,
Speed bumps for all.
I mean, what are we spending right now, 130 a year? 130, so, I mean, if we threw another $50,000 at FHP, that's all, everybody's complaining now with FHP. But, okay, I got a motion on the table. Are you ready? Go ahead and hit it.
Councilmember Hartle,
Yes.
Councilmember Morganelli,
No.
Vice Mayor Womack,
Holy crap. Well, again, I'm pretty much going to fall back to where I have no idea where the state of Florida is going, and I really don't want my neighbor putting a house in their backyard, so I'm going to say yes, PUD.
and Mayor Wynkoop.
Yes. Okay, so that's it. It's the first reading. Do we have to do a second reading, right? Okay, so we have to do a second reading. Everybody think about it. I
This
mean,
was
we.
the second reading.
I'm sorry?
This was the second reading.
Oh, so this is it
So
then?
this is
Okay.
done. The next step is preliminary plat.
Okay. All right, so that's it. The PUD happens. I know. I didn't believe I was going to make the motion.
I can't. We're not done yet, are we?
No, we have 2 more items.
But we didn't, no, we still, don't we have this resolution?
Yeah, we have 2 resolutions pending.
We still have,
We have 2.
We're not quite over yet, guys. It's not quite ready to get out of here.
That's probably the last we'll see of you guys.
2 more. 2 more. 2 more. 2 more.
Breakfast for all.
All right, let's go ahead and finish up. If you would, please, 2025-164.
Resolution 2025-164, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, approving the Water Conservation Plan for Water Use Permit 2671-6, inclusive of conservation programming content, prepared by Woodard and Curran, dated July 2024, authorizing minor modifications of the plan if required by FDEP, providing direction to the town manager, providing for conflicts and severability, providing for an effective date.
Alrighty, you want to explain this, Paul?
Yeah, very simply put, as you know, we're renewing our consumptive use permit. This is a requirement under our consumptive use permit. Woodward Kern put this together. They sent it for a first review for DEP, and they had a couple of comments, so this is the revised one to send back to them for hopefully a final approval. The resolution does allow for staff to make some minor changes to it if FDPE says, hey, you know, you need to advertise this another day or put this on your website, stuff along those lines. So we don't have to keep bringing it back and forth because might be some back and forth. So this is to do with water conservation, so our potable water system only.
So it's just paperwork we gotta get through. So
It's required, and we don't have a choice if we want water.
All right, I'll open up to the public. It's this.
Why open it to the public?
It's
you know, you don't listen to us anyways.
This is required for us to do our PUD, and it happens every 20 years now, right? No, it's going to be 10 years, isn't it? I think it was, how
We're
many-
going for a 20-year permit. That's what
right,
we're
but it's 10 years right now, right?
No, our current one actually is 20. It is 20.
No, the one we had that we're working off is it's
20.
It's a 21.
Yes, it is.
Is it
You
really?
did.
It doesn't feel that.
I know.
20 years ago already?
20-year permit, yes.
Wow, Anita.
I wasn't here 20 years.
I was.
And
We
the
did.
sad thing is, I've been working on this for 3 years now.
Yeah. Well, luckily, we're never going to see it in my lifetime.
And we're still going.
You want a motion, Mayor?
We're all done with the public, bring it back to the council. Go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-164.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. Okay, I think the next one's going to be the easiest one we ever did. Everybody wants to go home. If you would, please.
Resolution 2025-165, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, approving the federally funded sub-award and grant agreement for Hurricane Milton DR 4673, agreement number Z4863 between the Town of Montverde and FEMA through the Florida Division of Emergency Management to provide funding for disaster recovery from Hurricane Milton, authorizing the town manager to execute the agreement and attachments thereto, providing for an effective date.
Well, I have to open it to the public. Let's open it up to the public to discuss. Okay, bring it back. This is the same thing. It's a formality. So, you want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we accept resolution 2025-165 as written.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, say, against, say nay. Ayes have it. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you, council. Just a reminder, we have a special meeting on the 26th, which is a Wednesday, I think. 6th.
25th.
Yeah, it's Wednesday the 26th.
It's the 26th? Oh,
Yeah, we can't, there's, I think, there's a conflict with somebody. Oh, the Boy Scout thing. You have a conflict with the Boy Scouts. That's the night of the Boy Scouts. So we're gonna have to do it on Wednesday the 26th.
Oh, that's the Boy Scout night?
25th is the Boy Scout night on Tuesday.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't have to go.
We have already sent advertisements out for the stuff, so sorry.
I already said the advertisement, I mean, he's just now telling us that it's been changed.
Sorry. I tell you
You
what, if
can
you
miss a
see me
meeting.
coming and going on my vacation time, you would understand.